goes a little bit more smoothly. But anyway, just give me one moment. There we go. Yeah, we're gonna get Krim on here. I wanted to do some house cleaning real quick first. Just want to remind everybody today we are looking for solutions. We're not going to be rehashing. We're not going to be rehashing all the stuff that we've been rehashing for these past few days. We're not going to go into endless arguments about who shoulda, coulda, woulda done. We are now past that. Today we are talking about solutions. So, without further ado, let's bring on Crimson Clad. She really wants to speak. She's at work too, so she might not be able to speak for very long. So let's get her on while we can. Okay, Crim, you're live on air, and let's go from here. I think solutions today is going to be, yeah, what's done is done. We can't change it. Let's move on to solutions. Crim, you are live. Your mic is muted. There we go.
I don't know how my sound is going to be. I'm sitting in my car outside my work because this is the only chance I'm going to get to speak to you guys until tonight. And tonight's Full Force Radio is still going to be a Full Force Radio. We need a bit of space away from this on the waves. So you guys just let me know how the sound is quickly first.
We can understand you. It's kind of it sounds like you're in under a tin roof with rain, but that's we can work with it.
I'm in my car. Yeah, I'm in my car on the road because otherwise I'm at work and I'm not able to speak, and that's been really problematic for me. So just understand that I can't see chat right now, and bear with me just in that I basically just got my first sleep in 3 days. And so the reason that I am just saying I really like to start today's show and I want to speak is because I want to give you guys something to chew over and think about here in terms of where the talks go today. And I want to quickly kind of acknowledge everyone in these town halls who have been coming for the last 4 days or whatever the hell it's been. And that's not a pat yourselves on the back, you're all awesome, thank you. You guys know that. We don't need that part. What I want to acknowledge here and what I want to put out to you guys and the way that I want to empower all of you right now is with a couple of things that we need to focus on in terms of this battle. Number one, everybody's opinion counts. And I want to kind of remind you guys how opposite sides get formed. It's okay to think somebody else's opinion is fucking stupid, because it might be. But what I want to remind you guys is there are a lot of people who don't have the time to keep up at the level that you do. They're not here, they're not in the Discords, they're not getting to read everything. And what's happening is they're logging in to their favorite place in the world, and they're seeing all of their friends, and all they know is there's a big scary man, and there are some mean dictator witnesses, and everything's going to hell, and it's terrifying. So the best thing I can suggest to you guys right now is, while you're communicating, just remember, this person may not know as much as you. And if there are people on the fence right now, what they're seeing is their friends, the people around them, opinions they respect, screaming, yelling, bullying. They don't know why you're doing it. They don't see the lead up. And so just remember, right now, when we're trying to unify our votes behind getting a true set of witnesses in, all I can ask from you is don't change your stance. Don't think like you do. Help them come around by being kind. So, what I mean by that is maybe don't lead with, I fucking hate you, you Justin dick-sucking retard, okay? I know that's terrible, but just think about it. If the difference here is a few votes, if the difference here is a divided community, and if the difference here is having, think about what you really want and what you're passionate about, and just think, is the way that I'm delivering this potentially turning someone who could be with me against me? Everybody outside right now wants to see the most united Steam community possible, and we're doing an awesome job with it. But we could do better. And we probably could win some people over who are just saying, you know what, you guys are fucking douchebags, and I'm going with Justin. Now, second point, and then you'll be rid of me because I see my boss is calling. My second point is, there's a really fascinating angle here that I really think everybody that has the power to get out there and talk about should. And the second angle is, There are exchanges who are using custodial funds. They were trusted with these funds, and they have jumped in to support a hostile takeover. You guys know that. You're out there putting the pressure on. But what I want to kind of remind you guys is that there is a wider world watching. Every crypto needs a place to be listed. Every person who owns crypto needs a place to trade it. And every journalist is starting to watch what's happening here, not because Steem matters, but because the idea of where we trade and interact with crypto matters. And so right now we've got 3 exchanges that we can say, hey, look, these guys are doing weird shit. Hold them accountable. And it really comes down to start tweeting out, hey, if you're just coming into the crypto space, who do you trust? How do you keep your money safe? What are your expectations? Let's actually start putting some positive attention on exchanges like KuCoin or like Bittrex and start using that as a positive way to bring people's eyes to the situation. Okay, you already said you don't care about Steem, but do you care about a place that your money actually does what you're being told it said it does? And the side effect of this is that Steem is being noticed by more exchanges. It's being offered listings that in the past it was supposed to pay for. And in fact, people are starting to talk about this as the fight for truly decentralizing all crypto. And that's an angle that people who would never have paid attention to us before are paying attention to now. So each and every one of you guys fucking matters in that fight. Take it out there, get excited, be smart, and if you need information to empower you to help spread the word, let me know. I'm going to be on my computer all day. I'm going to be in my office pretending to work, but actually steaming, and everyone here will probably help it out. So if you guys want to brainstorm that today, I'm going to be around, but I have to jump off air, so thank you for letting me soapbox. I'm sorry this sounds like shit, and yes, later tonight I will be doing full force radio. We're going to play a bunch of metal, and if that's the place that you want to jump in the mosh pit and pretend you're punching each other in the face, I will be there for you for that. Okay, thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Krim. Glad to have you on. Glad to have you able to share your thoughts. You've been missed these past few days. We got some guy in here with us. I guess you didn't mean to be in here, some guy? I can move you back to the audience if you want. Or do you want to speak?
I will just chill in here for now. Maybe there'll be some points for me to say.
Okay. That works. This is a town hall meeting. I want to start off by saying that everybody is welcome to speak. Today we are not speaking about shoulda, coulda, woulda. We're not speaking about what happened in the past. We've already covered that ad nauseum. We're moving on to solutions. We are going to discuss plans of actions. We might have to discuss some hypotheticals, but we're not going to dwell on, well, it was Ned Stake. Well, it wasn't Ned Stake. We're not going to do that anymore. We've already discussed that ad nauseum. People have already figured out their sides. They've already discussed that. Now we're moving on. Agrode. Oh, I hear you messing with your mic.
There we go. Good morning.
There we go. Glad to have you here. Is there any more points you want to add to that?
Yeah, I mean, I really think that the heart of this is trying to figure out a way forward that is voluntary and helpful to all people. My ultimate goal is that we reach an accord that works for the exchanges, works for the content creators on Steem, works for the witnesses on Steem, works for Justin Sun and the Tron Foundation. That is the single best outcome that we could hope for. Um, and and it's challenging because this has been and to use BZ or CZ's word, it's been a fiasco. Um, and it's, trying to navigate back to something reasonable after how frustratingly bad this has gone is a challenge. But I do think some more conversation is opening up. I do think that there's something here, but But who knows? I mean, the Binance is still powered up. Huobi is still powered up. Steemit is still voting in sock puppets. This is crazy.
Oh, is Hoiby still voting? I thought they removed their vote.
They're not voting. I'm not saying that they're voting, but they are all powered up. So, despite the amount of shit that they took and should continue taking for having changed the governance by using custodial stake to vote, man, they still have the Steem powered up. They haven't even started a power down. So the threat that they pose by being able to vote is still present. They could vote in a heartbeat. You know, like right now, we actually have a number of these witness spots back. I'm barely sitting in consensus. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
Yeah,
8,
you're currently just 30 megavests away from falling out.
Yeah, I mean that's what 15,000 SP or something.
It is 15,000 roughly. It's
That's
500
tiny.
SP per megavest roughly.
But the real challenge here is that whatever's happening here can be undone by Binance in a second. Binance choosing to go vote again could go disrupt this entire thing. And they might, because they could freak out. You know, they need customer funds to be safe, and they want to make sure that nobody hard forks them out. And you know, if their fears, I think a lot of this stems around what the fears are and lack of communication. If they fear that we're going to fork out Binance funds and fork out Justin's funds, then this makes sense. But that's not what we're here to do. It's possible that witnesses voluntarily choose to go off on their own chain and people follow them. Who knows? That's a possibility. But I don't think that's going to happen on the main chain. But you know, if they vote, like we've been able to go manage 22 different hard forks, and those 22 hard forks have been hard, right? They're not. It's not just that the code was a hard fork; it's that it was a really hard fork. We've fallen flat on our face at least 4 times since I've been a witness. And you know, we figure it out and we get back going, but we always had a Vandenberg to help us, and the witnesses were all like really dedicated, highly professional people. And right now, we don't have a Vandenberg, and right now we have 10 sock puppet accounts running on one server with an inexperienced
Now,
witness. He doesn't
now
even know
I
how
got
to
it. You've been
manage his
mentioning that.
price.
Well, you've been mentioning that a lot. Do you know for a fact it's on one server?
I'm nearly positive.
It wouldn't be that. The thing about it is the 99.9%. What's it called? Crap, I forgot the word.
Latency?
99.9%.
So there's a 99% chance that it is them. Is kind of what you're saying, or it is one server.
99.9% block production or whatever, showing that pretty much it must have been all one server because there was absolutely no missed blocks. Everything showed about the same latency. If you check your witness logs, you would notice that almost all of them have a positive 200 millisecond latency, which actually shows it's a very long latency. Whether that's caused by 22.5, I don't know. But it kind of shows that it's most likely that they are in Asia, probably China. And the similar latency and lack of block missing shows it's possibly one server. We'll see as soon as they miss their first block, because all of those witnesses will miss a block at the same time.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I've just been wondering about. I've been hearing that claim a lot, and thanks for clearing that up. I didn't know what kind of proxies or what kind of evidence was there to support it. Just hearing the claim, you know. Anyway, Agro brought up a great point about the exchanges being scared, and as far as a solution for that, I think that maybe I know like people have been reaching out on Twitter and speaking, but what could possibly be a productive solution to that is just me spitballing here. All the witnesses, maybe witnesses make a post, maybe with their the soft fork account that everybody has access to, and all witnesses comment on that and sign on to it, saying that they would never fork any funds, and then email that to all the exchanges, blast it out on Twitter, have everybody in solidarity saying that they would never ever do that. I mean, like at least to put them at ease, because what you were saying about the fear is real, fear is rampant, and we need solutions for that as well. What do you think about that?
Yeah, and finding solutions is extremely challenging. We have to go get as many people to the table as possible.
Well, I think you guys could all get to the table on that, and I think that's one of the easy, like, just knock it down solutions for some of the problems we're facing. Okay, we got a problem that the exchanges are listening to Justin Sun saying that that the Steem blockchain is going to freeze their funds if not for him being put in the top 20. And that's blatantly false, but they don't know that. So they need some assurance. They need, I mean, maybe it's not going to be perfect, but yeah, it needs to be done. Like maybe there needs to be some voices out there, all in unison saying that, a contrary narrative to that.
It's a difficult road to figure out, in part because there's no open dialogue, and like the dialogue happens in bits and pieces. This isn't like two private corporations that can assign 2 point people and those two groups can talk, because honestly the witnesses are not we're not in a position to go say, yes, we will just delegate all responsibility to one person. It's really hard for just one person to represent all of us, um, because we don't all act in alignment or agreement, and that has to be part of this governance. That's part of why we're all separately here. um, I think it really involves some kind of like dialogue, communication, but all of that shit's really hard because they currently have 10 sock puppets in there, and the threat of Binance overhangs all of this, and um, it's a mess. The motto of this place, the actual motto is "Do no harm, but take no shit." But the like mod mantra has always been de-escalate, de-escalate, de-escalate. And I'd be really excited to de-escalate this, but like, our chief concern is that Justin Sun is voting with the stake, and he's putting out a post to model after proxy vote. Like that's antithetical to what we're attempting. That's like a pretty big escalation. So how do we come to terms when they're escalating?
I mean, obviously, de-escalation is the point. I don't know. Like I use my little tiny Twitter voice on. He responded. Justin Sun responded to McAfee. McAfee put out a pretty great tweet in support of the Steam community. I hope everybody here has seen it. If not, I hope somebody posts a link in the chat. I'm sure somebody's got that ready. And Justin Sun responded, which is screen capped above in the chat. And I responded to Justin saying, "Listen, give us a place to start negotiate." I don't remember exactly what I said, but essentially, give us a place to start negotiating. Put a number on it, and then we will have something that we can all have a win.
I
But
don't even understand what they want, because
exactly,
I think
that's the thing.
they
Nobody
want different things.
nobody understands what they want, and we can't start negotiating without them telling us what they want. I at least from my mind, unless someone else has a brilliant idea of like just being able to throw stuff and make it stick, we kind of need to figure out what they want in order to even reach a compromise. A compromise is what's needed here. And as LP Faust has said over and over, a compromise is something that both parties hate equally. That's what a good compromise is.
Yeah, totally agree. But it's also voluntary, right? Like, um, that's how this thing has to happen, and it's just so challenging um, because of there's this is escalated. This is out of it's a giant cluster. This is a very challenging situation, and we have to go get our words out. We have to go get our story out. And to Krim's point, like, we probably shouldn't be calling them fucking douchebags, but we should have righteous anger. I mean, I think it's okay to say, you guys are occupying our governance. Get out of here.
Um,
um
I think we need no. I don't. I think we need to take emotion out of this and treat this as a business. I mean that as far as like gaining perspective for the other side, this is a business deal. This isn't, what he's doing isn't like
Well, there's no
malicious.
business deal yet. We're
Right.
we're we're because
No, the
I've
business
tried to
deal is
go.
Justin Sun
I've had
buying Steam and Ink. That's the business deal.
Right, and none of the community is part of that. So what we're trying to figure out is, you have all this stake. What is your intention? Like, are you going to take this and just sell it and move on? Like, that would be terrible for this community. Those funds were there to go help develop the blockchain. And if Ned exit scams with that money, and then they exit scam with the Steem, like, we're left holding this terrible bag. That's awful. um if they want to go, if they want to stay here and work with us, that I think that I've been the most bullish about that scenario out of any of the witnesses, and I've been hammered for it. Um but I really believe that if we can figure out a mutually agreeable path forward, this can work. But now trust is so freaking, um it's so non-existent between the parties, because we can't, um there's just a very big lack of communication, which is why I'm trying to get them to come here, why I invited them here. I think we solve this by hearing one another out and figuring out a mutually agreeable plan. But it's a but there's like a strategy element too, because Justin's in there talking to the Korean server, and so are the witnesses, and votes are being accumulated, and all this stuff is happening at the same time. And it has to, because you have to play the game honestly. And that makes, like, the table stakes, like how big the prize pool of this pot is. It makes everybody kind of go as deep as they can.
Well, we've seen the community come together on this. This has been an overwhelming. I never thought the Steam community could come together like they have on this single issue. And maybe it's enough, maybe it's not. We're still fighting now. Well, barely 10 witnesses in the top. So I mean it's still progress. Now Justin Sun can go buy more and ruin that in an instant. But I don't think he's at least trained in business, so he probably knows about what's that term? Throwing bad money after bad money or whatever, or throwing money after bad money,
Throwing good money after bad.
or throwing good money after bad. But there's a term for that anyway. I'm
No, that's the phrase.
well, there's a
Don't throw good
phrase.
money after bad.
Yeah. Anyway, we're reaching a point now where things are starting to come. There's a tipping point we're reaching, and sunk cost fallacy. That's exactly what I was looking for. He knows about the cost fallacy, and he's not going to be. I mean, maybe I don't know if there's some cultural things where saving face and stuff where he would do that. But other than that, as far as a pure business perspective, which I can understand, he's not going to be doing that. I don't know if his ego or his cultural norms would allow that, but as far as a pure business decision, he's not going to be doing that. But what we're at an impasse now, and somebody in the chat said, why would we even negotiate? Then what are we doing? Like, we need to negotiate. We need to find out a win-win for this, or either that or we fork. We fork to a new chain, a sister chain. Those are really the only two options on this I see. Is there any other solutions or options? Marky is live now. Did you want to speak?
No, I just wanted to say that we have no friggin' clue what's in his mind. We can say he's Chinese and come up with all these scenarios, but honestly, he's a unique person, a unique snowflake. We have no friggin' clue. He could be any scenario he can play out. So trying to analyze what he's going to do, you can only generalize. And to continually circle around that is kind of silly. We have to prepare what are our options. What can we do?
I agree. We have, but we only have our, limited perspectives to go with. And as far as a pure business perspective, he's probably not going to throw good money after bad. Woo's asking, what do we have to negotiate with? Well, right now, the blockchain is locked. There is no hard forks that are going to get through at this moment, as of right now. So we're at an impasse, which means that's actually a great thing, because that means there's time for negotiations and there's time for compromise. What do we have to negotiate with? Well, what's the next hard fork going to be? How are we going to move forward from here? Am I wrong? Because obviously he wants a hard fork. We want a hard fork. We just disagree on the details.
We don't want a hard fork. We want him to decline voting rights. And that will put a contract on the blockchain that he will not use his stake to harm the community. Well, it also would be nice to have that on the exchanges, but that will allow him to use funds for development, for selling, or whatever he wants to do. But that will ensure he will not disrupt government.
Yes,
that to me is one of the minimum requirements.
Yes, that's probably one of the most. That's pretty much the reason this war started, because the soft fork was to prevent him from doing this exact scenario, which could have been prevented by him simply declining voting rights and showing that he is not going to get involved with governance, just like he claimed he wouldn't. But as we see, he has gotten involved with governments by creating all of these puppet accounts and voting them in using exchanges and some of the Steem at stake. So this could all be solved with a simple decline voting rights.
Yeah, sorry guys, here in the audience, please state your name before speaking. That was some guy 123. Trying to read chat and listen. Yeah, he could have. Coulda, shoulda, woulda. But now here we are, and we're trying to move forward. Oh, we lost aggroed. Chris Rice is live, and let me just remind everybody, this is a town hall. So if you want to speak, just tag Rondon in chat and say something to the effect of "I want to speak" or "pull me on air" or something like that, and I'll even put it in chat, just so you guys know. But Chris Rice is here. We're going to let him talk and see what he has to say, if he has any solutions. Looks like he's DMing me. Don't DM me, please. I can't. My computer is not working where I can just go through. I got to watch one channel and one channel only. Sorry, it sucks, but that's the way it is. Chris Rice, you are unmuted if you want to speak.
Okay, am I live right now?
You are live on air.
Okay. So what I think Justin's son wants and what Toronto wants is the same thing that the Steem community wants. And that's that they want to negotiate in a way where they aren't threatened. They want all threats removed to their stake and to their business if possible. Just like the Steem community wants all of the things that are threatening them, the obvious thing that maybe no one has said yet. And I think this can be solved by code. I think that there could be some code involved that makes it a trustless negotiation where there's no threats involved. What I did was I reached out to Ned for advice, and I asked him, just because I wanted to know his perspective, even though everybody was bashing him. And I asked, what is the best possible way for Steemians and the Steem community to benefit from Tron and Justin Sun's acquisition of Steem Incorporated? And Ned replied by saying that we should promise to never freeze anyone's funds. All witnesses should promise that they would never, ever freeze everyone's funds. And that's also what the crypto communities all around the world, they want that too. If there's a way where Steem can freeze funds, it's not going to look good. People aren't going to want to invest in a cryptocurrency where funds could be frozen. And that's possibly why we went viral, but the price hasn't moved nearly as much as something viral would. I know there's other issues too, but that could be one of them. And another idea that he shared, which I was skeptical at first, but I added to it to fix it. He said that we should give Steem Incorporated a special ability to veto malicious hard forks. On its own, it sounds terrible because that means everything is centralized and it goes from somewhat or barely decentralized, it goes to completely centralized. But if we change it so that instead of people being able to vote for 30 witnesses each, you change it so that they could only vote for 20 witnesses, and that's the max, or even make it lower, even make it 15, or we just have to find the right numbers where people can't vote for as many witnesses. And you also make it so that a hard fork by Steem Incorporated can also be vetoed, but not by the top 20, because we have to find a way for Justin Sun's stake to exist. Because I know Agrod or Rondon was saying that we shouldn't talk about whose stake it is, but I actually went and did the research, and I haven't seen any clear evidence where they outright said that they would never, under any circumstances, vote with Steem Incorporated stake. I searched and I haven't found it, despite what I was told.
Yeah, that's
Can you
false.
send it? Put it in the chat, please, because everything that I've seen, it was worded in a very careful way, such as saying that we are taking a position of being neutral. That doesn't say they will always remain neutral. They seem like they are very careful with what they were saying.
They say
I believe it was on the Bitcoin Talk thread. And it was Dan
Yeah, I saw
saying
those pictures, but it wouldn't stand up in court. What I'm saying is that the things I saw would not stand up in court. And just yesterday, this was brought up, and the person who was talking, it was either
Okay.
Rondon or
That's right.
Okay.
We're talking about solutions
We're
today.
getting
We're
off
not
track.
talking. Yes.
Okay. So the solution,
You were doing good at the beginning
the
there.
solution is, yeah. Okay. Sorry. So the solution is that we make it so that Steem Incorporated can veto hard forks that are instated by the community, and that would give them a trustless way to make sure that their stake, their business, is not threatened. But then that gives them too much power. So we have to also return that power to the witnesses who could be outvoted by Justin Sun's stake. So we need to give power. I don't know the exact numbers. This can be debated. But one possible solution is to make it so that witnesses 31 or 21 through 31, 5 of them, if even only 5 of them vote to veto the hard fork, it would automatically veto the hard fork of the top 20 witnesses. We just have to find the right numbers. But Ned's suggestion, which actually on its own it sounds terrible, but if you return the favor where there's a veto in both directions, this can make a trustless transaction where both the Steam community is not threatened, Justin's son is not threatened, and then I believe that Justin's son can make a huge profit and that all of us will profit with him. That's
right.
all.
Well, there's gonna be some kind of compromise that we're not gonna like, and there's gonna be some kind of compromise Justin's son might not like. But we need to I think these discussions are good, and I think what you said is good food for thought. I don't know if that's something I would support or not, but it's something to chew on.
And another thing that we might want to consider is that let's just say for theoretical purposes that the stake really belongs to him. That doesn't mean that we shouldn't hard fork, because if you notice, it seems like the Asian communities they're not as much they're not as strong advocates of free speech, and I think that is the path that Justin's son is going down with Steem. I think he's planning. He doesn't care about us Westerners. He is ready to just ditch the Westerners and make Steem it a completely centralized project that has censorship for the Chinese community in Asia. But if he takes this agreement where we both get vetoed, it would prevent that. But if he doesn't agree to that, then I would say that we would all benefit from him turning Steem it and Steem into a profitable business in China where the value of the tokens would go up, not because of us who believe in decentralization, but for those in China who just don't care and just want to use an app. And then we would need to have a hard fork, a sister chain, where it would be a Western chain that would be ours that we're active in as a sister chain of the Eastern centralized Justin Sun Tron Steem. And that wasn't my idea. That was actually Ann Carly. I think she's in here in this group. So that's another idea.
Thank you for your thoughts. That is good food for thought. We've got he left the room, and I'm not quite sure what his name was that wanted to come in. Listen, guys, if Discord likes to kick some people out, usually on mobile. So if I bring you on live on air, and it brings you out, if it kicks you out, let me know in the chat. Join a voice room, and I can fix that. Okay, so Resilincia is live on air. We're talking about solutions with Resilincia. Go right ahead. You have your mic muted, so if you unmute yourself, we will.
Can you hear me now?
Hey, we hear you great.
Hello, thank you very much for letting me the opportunity to talk here. First of all, I want to say that if I say something wrong, English is not my main tongue, but my main language. I will try my best. I am concerned, like almost all of the community, about what happened, but I also listened the conversation with Justin Sun and the witnesses, and I think there are a couple of things that were said that day that can bring us like a solution. One came from Stackers, the Three Speak co-founder, and he said something that I think it's quite interesting to bring on the table, which is maybe we can find like a middle term solution with Justin, trying to put kind of a code in the blockchain stating that first the Steemit stake cannot vote on witnesses, which is something that we as a community want. And second, maybe we can let part of that stake make part of that stake transferable and the other part not transferable, so he can just sell that part of Steem on the market gradually and don't dump the price of the Steem. What do you guys think about it?
Sorry, trying to.
trying to.
Oh, you're echoing very bad.
You're echoing very bad.
Whoa.
Let me
So
mute.
you didn't hear me well, right?
No, I hear you just fine. I'm just hearing my voice when I talk. So I'm gonna go ahead and mute you real quick. I think that's good food for thought. I think I don't know if we're gonna figure out the solution today. I think that what you said though, as far as I think that we can chew on that for a bit and keep on hearing some interesting thoughts, and hopefully we can get some kind of consensus on what the community wants. I do appreciate your time. Did you have anything more you wanted to add?
No, thank you very much. And just saying, like, maybe we can just agree on selling 20% of the Steem stake on the market, and the other one being committed, like, kind of development. So maybe this can be just a starting point or something like that, just to consider for the witnesses. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Resiliencia. I'm going to move you back into the broadcast channel. There's been some numbers floating around as far as like how to split this all up. Oh, you got moved back in here somehow. Okay. The numbers are all coming up, like, and maybe there's 20%, maybe there's 15%, maybe it's 30%. I don't know, but we could figure out a win somehow, possibly on going down that road. Can we, revise sociology? You're live on air if you want to speak.
Yeah, hi. Can everyone hear me okay?
Hey, loud and clear. You sound great. Go right ahead.
Oh, excellent. Yeah, brand new mic. I unboxed it about 30 minutes ago. Just a quick introduction. I've been around for about 2.5 years. I'm really just a content creator, and I have come to regard Steem as my kind of online home. There's, it'd be hard to live anywhere in the physical world where there's so many wonderfully intelligent and deviant and diverse people. And this whole sun takeover has just been horrible, yet really encouraging seeing everyone come together, and I'm really enjoying the positive publicity as well. So I will get to, I won't be on here for too long. I'll get to solutions very, very shortly. Had I not had a horrible drive back from work yesterday, I was going to come on and caution about what I perceived as being a bit of a kind of love-in kind of bubble. I got the impression that everyone thought we were kind of winning this kind of battle of the witnesses. And I was beginning to wonder where the concept of being able to make demands of Justin Sun kind of comes from. Because as far as he's concerned, he's bought a legitimate 70 million stake in Steem that he can use as he sees fit. That's his point of view. Whether it's right or wrong, that opinion probably isn't going to change unless he's forced into accepting a legal ruling. And that's probably never going to happen. So as far as he's concerned, he owes us nothing. And his reasonable stance on a resolution might just be getting his stake back and getting it out. Or at least that's what I thought until he put that recent post up, which suggests he wants to control his stake and he wants to do what the hell he likes with it. And he wants to make money out of it. But from what I can gather, he seems to want to use it as he sees fit, basically. But I agree with what Marky said. Ultimately, we don't know what the guy wants. That last post seemed to be the product of somebody that's maybe emotionally unstable. It didn't seem to be the product of a financially rational brain anyway. So I'm not really sure what's going on anymore. But the evidence suggests he's a bit unstable, and I don't really like that. I'm not very comfortable with it. So I'd like to see his stake leave, basically. What I think is very likely as well is that he's probably currently got a team working on a hard fork that's going to instigate a very short-term power down, which will allow Binance to get their stake out. I can't think of any other reason why Binance wouldn't have already started a power down over the 13-week period. And one of his employees is probably monitoring how much Steem he needs to take back the top 20 witnesses. And what I'm guessing is going to happen is that once he's got that hard fork in place, he'll just take over the top 20 witnesses, 5 o'clock in the morning, American time, and he'll just instigate the hard fork straight away. Now, that's pretty what he wants to do. Whether that's technically possible, I don't know. And maybe someone with more knowledge could comment on that. I don't know. But if he did do that, that potentially could mess up Steem quite considerably. Now, that might sound paranoid, but he wants his stake back. That's the easiest way he can get it back, basically. It's the kind of fuck you strategy. Yeah, so don't get me wrong. I think this coming together and thinking about solutions is great. We need to fight off this list, basically, and the more solidarity and fun we can have, the better. But I wouldn't be surprised if I woke up tomorrow and all of a sudden he's back in control. So maybe to get back to solutions, we need to lower the bar in terms of negotiation. Maybe we should just regard that 70 million Steem as lost. Maybe we should try and be buying it back from him somehow, because as far as he's concerned, that's his Steem. And if we were to get that Steem, buy it off him, I know that sounds horrible, but maybe that's the kind of compromise that we don't like. If a good compromise is something that neither side is happy with, perhaps that's the bit that we need to not be happy with. It's having to buy that Steem back over whatever period. I don't know how that would work, but we maybe need to lower the bar. I certainly don't think we're in a position to get him to work with exchanges in exchange for that Steem or some of the stuff that was being suggested yesterday. Right, finally, whatever we're doing in order to get to solutions, I just like everyone to kind of be calm, respond in rational language. Like that last post that he did, that was ranty, that was sweary, that was unhinged. We already had the moral high ground in terms of the positive publicity, but now we're leagues ahead of him. So what I'd like to see is nobody responding to him with fuck yous, swearing, rantiness. If we can just be calm and rational and polite, that would be wonderful. One thing, very final thing, one thing this whole process has taught me is that the community matters far more than the money as far as I'm concerned. And if we have to fork off and my tokens become worth less than my Tesco reward points, and if you're not from Britain, that's not very much. And yeah, what Krim said, this is a great publicity opportunity. We should all be talking about this, basically. So I think that's everything from me. So hopefully it all made sense. And yeah, cheers.
Cheers. Thanks for your thoughts. We've got TechSlut in here, and then we've got Nathan Sin back again. Go ahead, TechSlut.
Oh, can you hear me?
I can hear you great.
Fantastic. Very anyone. To those who don't know me, there's probably a lot who don't know me. I don't. I'm a content creator. I've been on Steem since, oh my God, 2016, was it? I hope not. Maybe 2017. I've been on Steem for quite a while, and I love this community. I've made a lot of friends here. And so Steem matters a lot to me. And I've been tuning into the town almost every day ever since the fiasco started. I also listened to the call with the witnesses. I also looked at the chat there and muted it because of all the Slack notifications, like all of us. And here's what I think. If it's not written down, it doesn't exist. There are a lot of very things, very good ideas being spoken out here, but none of them are being written down anywhere. They really should. Things. And then perhaps we can find some way to collaborate on
you're cutting up a little bit. Collaborating?
Sorry. Collaborating on a document that would describe what we as a community really want. Because at the end of the day, I think he wants money more than anything. I think Justin Sun wants money. That's his motivation. If we all earn, we all win. We can raise the value of our, the currency we're both holding. We want to do this. You want to do this. So this is what we want. Here's a list of, let's not call them demands. Let's call them wishes. Here are the wishes, and this is what we would like to happen. Not in a, this is what we demand. Not in a, if this don't happen, we'll fork. No, this is what we'd like to. You're saying you're a partner of Steem? Awesome. Here's the wishes that we would like to happen. If we can create something like that through collaboration of the community in some way, I think that would be almost as awesome as an MMA match. Yes? No? Anybody?
I think collaboration is the key. You were kind of cutting up a little bit there. It was a bit hard to make out. But I think your main point.
Sorry, wish list and send that or publish that in a way that Justin will notice. Maybe in like once we settle on something, we can publish it on Steem and have enough upvotes for it to make him pay attention and say, okay, this is what this community wants, and this is what I want to happen, and this is what they want to happen. We actually have very desires.
Well, apparently either him or his team are actually paying attention to stuff that's happening on Steem, because even like they noticed the proxy token post, so that is a possibility. Anyway, that was Texlet speaking. Next up we have Nathan Sin. Texlet, I'm going to go ahead and move you back in the audience. I thank you for joining us.
Thank you very much. I'm gonna just type ideas and stuff. I type.
Great, perfect.
Thank you very much. Bye bye.
Nathan.
Hello.
Nathan Sin is up next.
Can you hear me okay?
I can hear you great. Go ahead, Nathan.
Okay. So I've spoken in here a couple of times. I was absent last night because I had to get some rest. What I'm probably about to say is probably not going to be like extremely popular. But I've kind of been, I'm a pretty big investor in Steem. Not as big as some people, but I have a good stack and a half invested in this. So I feel like I'm a pretty big investor. And I bought 2 stacks worth of Steem at $1 a Steem. So I've put a lot of money in this. So kind of, I feel like my standpoint on things have come from a place that I don't know if we're valid, right? Because a lot of people, and it's my fault for not doing the research myself before making a decision or forming a stance on everything. But I was told that, Steem had incorporated clearly that these coins would never be used to vote with, and that this was on chain, on the Steem chain. Now, all I'm being given is a Bitcoin talk form comment, which I completely disregard, because to me, what that says is the equivalent of me saying, hey, I'm neutral in this election. I'm not voting for Biden or Trump because I'm just neutral. I don't have a stance. But next election, I decide, hey, I want to vote because I like the candidate, or I have a different opinion. So the Bitcoin talk post to me is completely invalidated, and it's not on chain. So it's not. Okay.
Well, Nathan, I hate to interrupt you, but we're talking about solutions now. Like this is stuff that we've discussed.
But
we've discussed
until we can form a solution, we have to determine how our solution to the decisions that we've made were based on something that is a fallacy, right? And if unless Steem Incorporated said, then those are Justin's coins. This is decentralized. Now, if the witnesses decide that, hey, we're going to do this, whoever's voted witness by this community can decide whatever they want to run on their node. They can run that. There's no such thing as a hacker witness running a code to steal something. That's bullshit, right? If we elect you, you can run whatever code you decide to run, right? But there's things being said inside this community that are not true, right? And I'm not going to stand here and act like it's not, okay? So if we're going to say something, it needs to be accurate, right? Because we're making decisions. And if we're going to hold Steem Incorporated and Justin Sun accountable for what they say, we need to be accountable for what we say, right? So I'm not going to have opinion that is not true unless y'all can show me some evidence of what you're saying is true. And so far, I have not seen it, okay? And this is the opinion of a lot of people in this community who have invested a lot of fucking money in this shit, okay? I'm going to drop off because I'm getting a little heated, but I don't like people saying one thing to me and then finding out it's not fucking true.
Heated is fine, as long as you keep it civil. Yes, but did you have any solutions you wanted to propose to where we're at from your perspective of how we got here?
Yes, I would say either you show me where Steem Incorporated said that these coins would not be sold and not be voted, or you give them to Justin. And if you want to fork, you fork. If not, then we follow it. I think it would be better to follow it and let him sell his coins or do whatever the fuck he wants to do with them,
No, so
because that's
you
how
understand.
this
You
shit was
understand
set
right
up.
now. You understand right now. The Steem and Ink coins are being used to vote. They have the power to power down and dump on exchanges. They have all the rights right
I
now.
understand all that. I
Okay.
understand that. That's
So-
the system that we signed up for. This is what, when we got into it, this is what we knew existed. This is what we knew and we agreed to in the beginning when we got into it. We already knew all this, unless it was said something somewhere else. And this Bitcoin talk is not valid, because it's the same as me saying I'm not gonna vote, and next election I decide I am gonna vote. Right? It doesn't. This is not enough. You gotta have more. That would never stand up in court. If it can't stand up in court, it doesn't stand up with me.
Well, I think this is a blockchain. The blockchain governance is more important to me than.
Hey, I agree 100%. If we can govern it with what we have, hey, whatever we can govern, whatever we can. Hey, and you know what? Anybody that wants to not give him his coins or don't let him vote, hey, I would probably vote you as a witness. All right. But what I'm saying is what we're saying needs to be accurate. We can't just say, oh, Steem Incorporated said all this, it's on chain, la, 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 and it not be true, because then it just makes us look like a bunch of fucking douches.
Okay. Point taken.
Making up bullshit.
Point taken. Thanks for joining us, Nathan. We've got El Gecko, and then we've got. I'm sorry. I'm not going to try to pronounce your name and butcher it, but Tara, we'll get you on next. So El Gecko, did you want to say some words?
Yes, hello everybody.
Welcome.
Yep. I think we have a problem now with full release. If we release the funds totally, fully without condition, we will get fucked. He will just use the power of the coins to just do whatever he wants. The first announcement was token swap. If you don't swap in time, I think maybe there is a solution. It must be a solution in percentage, 1%, 30% or whatever, immediate release without any condition. So he is a big whale, has a big stack, he has full access, he can vote with it, he can sell it. Another percentage, maybe another 30%, is just time locked. So he has full access. He cannot. Maybe there's some limitation in the voting right. And another part, 40%, maybe we can buy from him over a time period, or maybe it's also time locked. The problem is there is so much burnt earth now and so much anger on both sides that if we just fully release the funds, the things will happen we try to avoid with the quick soft fork. So we are in a kind of.
No, the funds are released. All of the funds are released, not just 30% of them. So we are there already. We're there.
All the funds are released, so he can go with all the money and leave.
Yep.
But he doesn't do it.
He's just voting. Well, if he powered down, he wouldn't be able to vote for witnesses. He can power down right now, though. He is voting right now. He's voting right now for witnesses. He did that as soon as exchanges put in that hard fork or removed that soft fork. Sorry, I'm going to get my terminology right. They removed the soft fork that the witnesses put in place. Soft fork 22.2. The exchanges voted and removed it by installing the puppets. And then as soon as that happened, Steem and Ink stake was used to vote for witnesses. And even despite Steem and Ink stake used to vote and an exchange used to vote, there's still 10 community witnesses on the top right now as we speak. But he has full control. He can go vote his post. He can go power down to exchanges. He is currently voting for witnesses. And inertia, I've seen plenty of people telling them they need to start powering down now because they'll get 1/13 of their power back on Twitter. I've been seeing that. I think Krim has been nailing that point. I think a lot of people have been nailing that point.
Yeah, WhatsApp says the right thing. If the price goes really down, we have a unique chance to have a well-distributed chain afterwards. It's a pain, but you have to go through pain if you want to evolve somehow. It's not coming from itself. So there will maybe be a price disaster, but there's also a chance to get rid of the 4-year-old problem from Ninja Mine massive failed distribution. LP disagreed with my idea. It's okay.
Yeah, there's going to be people disagreeing. There's going to be people disagreeing. And you know what? Yeah, like even if he pumps and dumps,
that's good.
If he pumps and dumps, if that's the worst case scenario, then guess what? What we're left with is some cheap Steem to buy and a lot better distribution. I don't really see that as too much of a downside as of what we're staring at right now. My personal opinion here, and just me because I got the mic. I think that the biggest threat we have is this 3 to 7 day power down that he's wanting to implement, and this removing downvotes that I think he's just saying because he's trying to get the Koreans on his side. But I think that's the biggest threat to the chain as we speak right now.
To be clear, he has nothing locking his stake right now. He has full control to power down himself. The exchanges have full control to power down themselves and liquefy so they can honor their commitments to their customers. There's no blocks in place. The only block in place is we have enough witnesses to prevent them from doing a sudden hard fork, which is, I believe, Justin's number one priority right now to alleviate the legal burden that the exchanges are in right now, which the blockchain is immutable, so they won't alleviate that burden because they still are legally liable for what they've done. But they'll have the ability to liquefy and be able to honor commitment. I think he's not powering down because he wants the instant power down. The code's pretty much ready to go. They just need to fork it in. So I believe it's something like, okay, I know I can power down now, or I can do it instantly if I get this fork. So they're just kind of waiting till they can do it instantly. That's what I believe the situation.
Do you think they got the code ready?
Yes, I am 99% sure the code's ready.
Wow, I thought they weren't. I've been hearing other people saying that it would take a long time for these guys because they don't understand the chain and all the people who.
Oh, make no mistake, they're ready.
Okay, I mean that's what I was thinking too. I was thinking you're underestimating them, but everybody else was assuring me no. So I held that,
Looks like Aggro is back out of the top 20.
And he's out of this room too.
Yep.
There's a constant flow of about 10-20k coming in on hot Binance every hour.
So, okay, Marky, as a witness, do you think that there is a path to allow the exchanges to power down immediately without wrecking the chain?
They can do that right now. Oh, no, you mean immediately?
Yeah, like a 3-day power down or whatever?
So Justin Sun said something in that meeting. If you guys listen to the recording, he said it very clearly. But I think it's subtle and most people didn't get it, the nuance. And I don't believe he was speaking accurately either. But he said, and I'll quote, not verbatim, but very closely, that he will enable the ability to do quick power downs, but it won't be for the entire community. I will not force the entire community to power down. It'll just be certain accounts. Now, I'm going to explain that because there's two things that are concerning. First off, he thinks that he's going to have certain accounts have a rapid power down and other accounts not doing that. I doubt that's what they would do. I believe they would make a new power down cycle and it would be for everybody. But it's very possible he specifically meant that. Judging by how he speaks, I doubt he did. But he may specifically meant that he's going to have multiple levels of power down based on if you're on a whitelist or not on a whitelist. That may very well be his plan. but I believe he was speaking without education and was saying that, but it really means that the blockchain will now power down in 3 to 7 days. Everyone will have that ability. The second point that is concerning to me that he mentioned that is another nuance that most people probably didn't catch is he said, I will not power down the entire community. And it would only be for certain accounts. Sorry, I lost my train of thought trying to see what was going on. But the other thing would be, and I also think he means it may be a limited time, like it'll be a short window, power down and do that. The other thing I believe is a possibility is it may not be available to everyone. He may make certain rules for certain accounts and other accounts can't power down. So he will be able to liquefy the exchanges, but all of us who have been shit in the face won't be able to get out. So it'll be his Steem and Ink, maybe the exchanges as well, maybe just the exchange or everybody. There's no clarity. We heard very little in the call, and he's obviously not educated about Steem, so what he says can't really be trusted. He also lies, so that can't be trusted. So it's very unclear specifically what he meant, and we have no conversation or dialogue with him to get any clarity. And even when we do, it's a lot of bullshit. So there's a lot of scenarios that can play out, but personally, I think either he's going to allow certain accounts to power down, mostly the exchanges, quickly, but no one else. He's going to allow everyone to power down, and it will be a short period of time. And if you can get in there with them, you can all power down at the same time. Or he's going to allow Steem and Ink to power down and the exchanges at the same time, and everyone power down quickly in that group of people, just his group, and that's it. Or it's going to be a permanent change forever. So there's a few scenarios, but those are the ones that I heard in that thing. And I don't think he knows enough to have spoken accurately, especially with some of the other comments he made during the call.
So that question really wasn't about what Justin Sun said. I really want to know if there's a path forward that like we could make to get these exchanges. I mean, like, here's the thing: they made a
we can implement
mistake.
a hard fork that will change it, and we can do one of two things. We can enable it for certain accounts, enable it for everybody, enable it for certain accounts with a short window, enable it for everyone for a short one. We can do that. That's possible. Now, I don't think or don't know or I can't speak for all the top 20 witnesses enabling and allowing. Part of why a lot of us are trying to get back in the top 20 is to prevent that type of situation.
Well, here's the thing. Like, so I'm thinking, just hypothetically, like, if they were to decline voting rights and then were allowed to power down immediately. So like decline voting rights on proxy, decline, all the, like basically everything except for freezing of the accounts, or freezing of the funds, but no voting on posts, no downvoting on posts, no proxying witness votes, no voting for witnesses, no, nothing that can affect the reward mechanisms or the witness voting on the chain. I don't know what all the ops are called, but if all those can be disabled, and then they allow for them to power up and power down as quickly as possible, would that be an acceptable solution, just for those accounts?
I can't speak for everybody.
Right, but I mean,
there's 20 people that have to make that decision.
If I'm
half of them
Justin,
are not ours.
Would that break the chain? That's kind of what I'm asking.
Will it break the chain? It would break the tokenomics. It will break the economy, but it won't break the chain. It definitely can be coded technically.
Can I interrupt for a second here, fellas? I got messaged by Roy from Tron, and he wants to come on air and address the town hall. So he should be joining the Discord town hall pretty shortly, and I think Eli Powell might join as well. And I get a lot of people are mad and frustrated, and this is a wonderful opportunity for us to at least try to start this dialogue. Remember when in the post I said all opinions are welcome, but delivery matters. Let's try to start this off I know that everything to date has been pretty shitty. Let's try to go make this less shitty and see if we can't start building something.
That sounds wonderful. We're trying to find solutions today, and that is huge progress. I do want to remind everybody, we're going to keep this civil, come hell or high water. So if people in there, I want to ask the moderators here, I want to ask everybody here who has banning capabilities, if there is people here that are being less than civil during this discussion, we will remove you. Please make
I
this
say
civil.
we remove Whoop now. He's a troll, and he's been trolling the entire time. And I would also recommend removing anybody from this live on air that doesn't need to be here, including me if
Absolutely.
you need to.
Well, until Roy gets here, this is still open town hall. But
Yeah,
Roy's not here.
I'm gonna ask all the non-elected witnesses to leave the chat or the live on air. But
Can Richard
there's no way
Krill talk? Richard Krill's been waiting, and so actually Tara Dacum has been waiting too. We don't.
One more
Roy,
thing, I would also recommend suggesting that people keep the memes and GIFs and non-chat to a minimum, and maybe even enable slow mode.
Slow mode is enabled.
It's enabled.
Put slow mode up higher, Peachy. Yeah, probably turn it up even higher.
I would say 30 seconds.
Yeah, 30 seconds sounds like a good number. But while we're waiting for Roy, like until he gets here, we don't.
Yeah, 100%. They're welcome to go. Once Roy's here, I'm going to limit live on air to just consensus witnesses, and Dan, I'm going to, Dan has, I think he's the 5th highest Steam Power holder on the network, so Dan gets to stick around.
I'm going to mute myself. Call me if you need me. I'll be listening.
Awesome. Thank you, Marky.
Thanks, Marky. I'm sorry, I'm butchering your name. Tarek Adam?
Tarek Adam. That's
Tarek
fine.
Adam.
Can you hear me okay?
I hear you great. Go right ahead. Be quick, please. But
yes, I will. I saw the recorded witness meeting that has been recorded between the Steam witnesses and Tron, and I believe it is worth for everyone who is interested to learn more about Justin Sun's motives and attentions. Then this is a great way to start, because I think he made it very clear, at least to me in this meeting, that his main intention is to get his investment back. He has no interest in power or governance. So maybe getting directly to the solution after seeing that or hearing that meeting, if there would be a follow-up meeting between the witnesses and Tron, and maybe we could, or the witnesses could get into an agreement with Justin and the Tron team, because from my understanding, what the witnesses want, the Steam witnesses, they want to have the power back, and they want to have clarification about the Steam stake. That is my understanding. What Justin Sun wants, he was initially interested in developing the Steam blockchain, but the impression is that he wants to go out as soon as he can, but with a profit. So if the witnesses and Tron can agree, maybe that taking off the ban with the exchanges, making sure that the witnesses, the initial Steam witnesses, are elected again. So business as usual, so to say, without all the blockage and drama and war. Hopefully the price goes up, and if the witnesses could agree an upfront a price with Justin by when he will exit, and what will happen at that time with the remaining Steam stake, for example, it will go to the development fund or it will be burned. I think that would help everyone. Everyone would be happy. There are no hard feelings on every side. So that's just to summarize what I would suggest as a solution.
Thanks for providing that, Richard Krill. Tara, I'm gonna move you out of the live on air, and Richard Krill, if there's something you'd like to share, here's your turn.
Yeah, just real quick. I think my connection is okay. Can y'all hear me all right?
Yes.
Yeah, I think the conversation is probably going to change here shortly when I want to hear from who's coming on and everything. But as we're talking about solutions, what I was hoping we might focus a little more on, because it looks to me like we are winning and quite possibly might get enough witnesses.
oh, looks like we lost his connection. See if we can't get him back before Roy gets here. I don't see him. I don't see him in the chat. I don't know. What's the ETA on Roy? Just soon? You know?
Just soon.
Okay. Richard, it looks like you dropped out.
Grod, he's in already. He's in the chat already, Grod.
What's his handle?
I'll find out until we understood it.
It looks like it's just Roy. Let me see if this is him.
Yeah, check the welcome room for new people. And
hey, Roy, is that you from Tron? Are you here?
I'm here. I'm here.
All right.
Here.
Hey,
can you hear me?
I can hear you great, and I just want to say thank you for taking a second to come on air. I know that this has been a pretty rough couple of weeks, and I appreciate you taking the time to talk to the people here. Can you introduce yourself a little? I don't think everybody here knows who you are.
Hi everyone. Thanks for having me, Agra, and looking forward to talk more with the community in regards to the upcoming back and forth, and happy to listen to all the community, and I think this is the most dynamic community we've ever seen, which is really great to see the kind of energy behind, and happy to work with the witness and the community on to see what we can what kind of a direction we can go together.
And what how are you involved in this Tron thing? Like what's your role, or what's your position, or how do you describe what you do around here? Because again, this is real new to so many people. So the more that we can kind of understand this, the better.
Sure. So I'm heading business in Tron Foundation, and Steem is a very interesting project to Tron Foundation, because we're both DPOS, and we have a lot of we share a lot of the same DNA, and we both have huge communities. That's how we got on starting the conversation with the project and the Steem Inc. in the first place.
Okay, thank you. So you're in a what we call this a town hall. So I just want to set the stage for this thing. You're in a Discord channel called the Peace, Abundance, and Liberty Network, and in here are something like 20,000 Steemian accounts that maybe not everybody's active, but certainly it's roughly how many people are in here. And generally we have like this, we broadcast and we record, and we are doing that now. So I want to make that clear. And we do shows and musical shows and politics talk and stuff. But recently we've been in here trying to figure out how do we get our story out, and how do we start figuring out what the hell is going on, and how we could
Sure.
Figure out, like today, actually, Ron started the show with, we're not here to rehash any of the past. We're here to start talking about solutions.
Sure.
And
Totally.
that was recorded. So that's what we are focused on today. What do you see that as? Is there a solution? Are we all doomed, or what's next?
Definitely. I mean, I think it's that, from what Justin said, or Tron's perspective, I think we can go all in good faith, because we see both dynamic communities can come together to build something awesome things together. And I definitely see there's a future ahead of us. I think the key thing is just when you sit down, calm down. Whatever happened out there shouldn't be the roadblock for what do we need to achieve. I think we have the synergy out there big time. We have huge distribution, huge marketing power, and a lot of resources. And we like to share with the Steem community and the Steem.com to push to next stage. I think everyone, we just need to, work with the witnesses, work with our leaders and community. Let's sit down and figure out. I'm pretty sure there's a lot of ideas in common, a lot of solutions are there. Hopefully we're and as a matter of fact, I've been talking to several leaders already, and I wish to talk more and see if we can come to agreement or a consensus as soon as possible.
Can you share some of what your biggest concerns are? I mean, there's been a lot of activity on both sides, and I think there's both sides perceive the other as being hostile. Both sides perceive danger here. Can you share some of what your concern is so that we can
Sure.
sort of understand that and try to honor or participate?
Sure. I think this transparency is super important to understand where we're coming from. And from the very get-go, there's never ever any hostility whatsoever coming from Tron or Steam side whatsoever. There might be a history tied between. There was some history that we recently found out on in regards to the Steam history. But I think the key thing we need to understand here, Tron or Justin's son, we came in with all good faith, period, because we want to build a good business together, build a more healthier ecosystem together. That's where we're coming from.
So what are your concerns going, or what are your big concerns right now? Like what?
Sure. The biggest concern is I think one thing we need to learn better. We need to definitely do a better job is to understand the community better at the get-go. And for whatever reason, the contractual reason, we were not able to do so, to understand too much of the history of the community. So whatever happened. I think it's very important for us to clear to each other, what was the reason behind that? What was the logic? I think the whole community is very rational, and we can talk about, the reason, right? And it is only when we can lay out the good reasons on this table, then we can find a solution out there. I think I think what Justin did, like the previous contributor, just to talk on the air, Justin, he called out multiple times, for the 22.5, only thing he did is try to protect his property from his perspective. Please understand. We just need to talk about each other's perspective, and from his perspective, he just wants to protect his property. And as the code submitted on the GitHub shows, that's the only thing was done. Right? It's nothing about anything else. Even though he could do everything else, he didn't. So the point here is not about hostility taking over the network, and also as right after in the open letter right after the 22.5, and I really encourage everyone if you have time to take a good read into this. The key thing I think we need to call out is the commitment to Steem community continues, meaning that Steem is not interested. We're not participating to the governance. What it means is that we need to discuss with the leaders, community leaders, to figure out a process to de-escalate the process. But you need to understand there's no intention for Tron or Steem to be involved in the governance. The community has been governing itself for a long time, and also a practical reason for that is we just don't have necessarily the bandwidth to get involved as this active, dynamic, energetic community day-to-day basis. I thank you guys all for that. That's the practical reason, right? So we are not, like Justin said in the other day, he's not interested in participating in governance. That's a fact. I think that a lot of things we need to come down to his business logic here, because we are both DPOS and we are both big communities, and we have a lot of consumer-facing use cases. And Steem is the first decentralized ecosystem, socialized community, versus Tron has a lot of consumer-facing use cases out there, and there's definitely a lot of synergy. Consider what if we can help bring more traffic to Steem or Steem it and the overall ecosystem, where more users to participate to the socialized activity. What kind of a social layer? What's the most important thing for any social network, right? Like traffic. You need to have a lot of users, which brings in turn a lot of content, bring a lot of more dynamic and healthier ecosystem growth moving forward. And we can definitely help on that. We can help not only from just the social media, from traditional social media perspective, not only from the PR perspective, but also from the distribution perspective. I'm not trying to sell anything, but I think I might as well take advantage of the chance to say it out loud to the mass to the mass market, to the mass community, to say like, I mean, Tron's been working our heads down to work on the pushing for the distribution, because Tron's goal and Justin Sun's vision is to take his intention is to bring the blockchain to the mass market, where it means that we need to find a channel to do that. That's why we've been actively working with BitTorrent, which bringing to the Tron community 25 million daily active users, right? And we've been working with Opera, the browser, which brings us like 75 million daily active users, right? Not to mention, we're also working with, Samsung, and we're embedded by default in all the new Samsung phones by default. And I like to open these resources to all the single community members in the Steem. So I think that there's a lot of good things ahead of us. So I think that to find a solution to get to that stage, we just need to de-escalate together. And I think this is the word we kept on mentioning, and that we have with the rest of the leaders in the community. I think we just need to find a solution for community, for Steem to cool down, because if you escalate that, it's pointless, right? I think we both want the good things to happen to the community, and there's no like even one piece of intention to think about harming the chain or community whatsoever, because it's never been the intention, and it will never be intention. And honestly, it's beyond our bandwidth to do that. It's just like it doesn't make any logical business sense. So whatever we do needs to be based on business logic. I think there's one key differentiator between Tron and other communities or projects, right? So let's sit down, figure out the solution, lay out what you want each other's looking for, and then let's find a solution and move forward. I hope we can achieve that very soon.
Yeah, I like a lot of what you're saying about product roadmap and integrations.
Yeah, and that roadmap essentially is we had a very good conversation with a Steem team back in San Francisco, and this is exactly the same roadmap we were discussing in the room in San Francisco, because I think we have all the good talents executed for the last couple of years, good work done in the last couple of years thanks to the community and Steem Inc. That now we just need to execute, we need to deliver. If you anything, like everybody talking about Tron just being marketing, good or bad, whatever. But the key thing, I have to call it out for pure business objective perspective, right? Even if I'm not wearing Tron's hat today, the key thing we need to pay attention to is that Tron delivers. Like whatever Tron said, BS here and there, you can call that BS, but the key thing, Tron's keep on progressing, delivering, and building its ecosystem products. I think that's the key thing to make overall project more healthier, ecosystem more healthier. I think that's the key. And I would like to share our know-how with the Steem community.
Because what I think we want is not necessarily just to be told, here is your roadmap, this is what you're doing. And that's not to say we don't. There are parts of that roadmap that I really like. That actually I like everything that's in there except for the power down period, and I like all the BitTorrent stuff, and I like Opera. Like there's an enormous amount of opportunities, but I really don't want to speak for any other witness. But I know that for me, my concern is around. Are we active participants in this? Are we co-owners of this blockchain, or are we simply at the will of Justin Sun? And I haven't done this for 4 years or 3 years just to hand over governance and be like, okay, that's it. I mean, we are a community that values our own independence and our own actions, and that we have the freedom to say what we want, to interact how we want to. We just to me it's less, with the one exception of the power down period that I mean some of the witnesses agree, some of them don't. I personally don't. The rest of the product roadmap looked pretty awesome. But this whole thing to me is around this governance piece. So I asked you to go share your concerns. I just wanted to share my concerns so that it could be laid out for you the same way you laid it out for us. Are there? We have Marky in here. Marky and some guy. They're both witnesses. Are there other concerns that you might want to share with Roy in addition to?
Sure, by all means, please share your concern. I'm all ears and happy to answer any question you might have. And then I can, and I'm more than happy to have, a closer conversation in regard to specifically what concerns or actionable items we can do moving forward.
Well, the most obvious concern is the voting of these puppet witnesses.
Sure.
Combined with, of course, the fact that exchanges got involved.
Mm-hmm.
This has obviously hurt the public relations of those exchanges massively.
Sure. If I can comment, I think the first thing first, we don't want to get exchange involved, anymore. If it's possible, if we can do anything as soon as possible, give them the so-called power down thing. What Justin mentioned, to call it out, the power down is a very important feature which affect the overall ecosystem and the economy side of it. However, what Justin was mentioning probably is lost in the translation or the communication that is only about power down on specific accounts, meaning these particular accounts that participated in the previous votes, and we try to power that down so that it can get us a token out of here, and they don't have to participate into this back and forth anymore. That's the intention. And back into the regarding to the rest of the votings that we might have, the end goal is to just release 100% to the community. And I think we're in a good conversation right now to the leaders to figure out a step-by-step kind of approach to do that. I really hope we can come to a concrete executable plan very soon.
Marky, do you have a concern that you want to share?
Oh yeah, quite a few, but I will continue on this point. Please explain the latest post and how that fits into what you just said.
Which latest post? Can you be more specific, Marky?
The one was fuck about 10 times and how he's going to vote witness if we want to fuck. I can provide a link if that's not clear enough.
So first thing first, I just woke up to this. Honestly, I just woke up to this, and the first thing I do, I just called Justin. What was that? And he told me that he just tried to, because I can't speak for it. I don't know the context of it. It's super late on his side for his time zone. I think the result you need to see though is that he removed the post content, and if I remember right, he specifically said in the title and context that we're having a good conversation right now with the community. Okay. I'm not sure
it doesn't really fit with the post, but
I'm not sure if it's still there. But
I also have a concern with is how do you justify having some accounts have godlike ability to power down immediately to correct a mistake on your end, and some accounts don't have?
I think there's this collective wisdom to do that, and we might have a solution. We were more than happy. I was pulling the call, and thanks for the invite, by the way. But originally our plan is like in 20 minutes. I was planning to have a tech call to figure out the code. And what do we try to do? I don't want to get too specific, but our intention is if there's a code that we think is executable, we want to share it with the community for the review. When everybody feels okay, and then we can see how we can deploy that. This is the idea. And I'm no technical. I cannot speak for how it can be done. I don't know economy of the Steem ecosystem that well, but I think I think there's some this is somewhere. It's getting somewhere.
Okay, what do you expect to do? What do you need for those witnesses' votes to get gone now?
What do I need? I mean, ideally, what I
is
need
stopping you from doing it right now?
Start doing what right now?
Remove those witness votes. What is stopping you? Why are they still there?
Oh, sure. Right now, I mean, we try to have this conversation with the leaders. I think whatever's done is done. We just need to talk about, how we can make our next move clearly and transparently, and to the rest of the leaders in the group.
Okay,
So
we've
that
been trying to communicate with you guys, and you've ignored us.
I'm
And that's why we're in the position we're in now. So, what do you need to remove those votes?
I would need to get the leaders come together. Let's figure out a
Okay,
solution.
so when can we do that?
I'm ready to do that as soon as possible.
All right, so after this town hall, let's do that.
I'm all ears and all hands.
Okay,
So
let
this-
us.
this-
we can do that
I
today.
think we need. Hold on. We need to give the witnesses live all around the world. So as much as I'm in favor of doing this as quickly as possible, let's go give at least a couple hours heads up so that we can talk and communicate and let the actual Steam witnesses know, and then maybe we can go. You can tell us a place that you're comfortable meeting, and we can try to get the witnesses there.
Unless Steam has a demand for us, there's nothing on our end that would require us to vote on or to decide. We all want the votes gone. So it's pretty much you either do that or you have a demand that you need to come to us. But we want those votes gone. It's our community. We've been here for years. We built a system where everyone trusts the witnesses, and you come and disrupt that. So what do we need to do to get that done?
Oh, we can definitely discuss after the call.
There's nothing you need to discuss with us. You need to discuss
Can
with
I-
you.
I don't
unless
think
you have
that's
something
true,
you need from
Marky.
us.
Gents, can I just jump in here? This is my thinking, right? That there's an immediate need from Tron's side to de-escalate with the exchanges. They need to get the power down done, right? We want the witnesses back. What I would suggest is that if it's clear that if there's some code release to do the hard fork, and it's clear that our people are working on that, I think the more of our people that work on that, review it, test that code, the more of those sock puppet accounts should be removed, and then a handover of the witnesses should happen so that we can lead that hard fork lead out of that hard fork with our own witnesses as the majority. Maybe leave some Tron in place as a veto so that they can feel secure afterwards. And then maybe after a few days or weeks, we fully remove the Tron accounts after everyone's understood each other and there's kind of a risk. The risk is lower, yeah, and everyone understands, and that we all kind of calm down. I think that is the tangible next step forwards. And what I'd be looking for is for Tron or Steemit to release that code, put it into a Slack somewhere where the developers can review it, and then see that we're all working together on this. And slowly but surely, then before the hard fork happens, hand over the control of the top 20 witnesses accounts. Well, the top 16, I'd say.
I mean, that's getting pretty specific. And
I do have something
I
really
agree,
easy to say. Is if you want to start powering down those exchanges, you should have started days ago. If you want to reduce their risk, they can power down right now and at least get it started. I mean, there's no reason why they shouldn't start powering down now.
let's. So we have 1, 2, 3. Well, whatever. I think, Roy, can you propose a time that is presumably at least a couple hours from now, and just propose a time and I guess some kind of program for the witnesses to meet with you, and then
Sure.
we can,
Sure. You have all my calendar today. I would propose if we can do something around 2 p.m. PST. I'm not sure. Again, it really depends on everybody's time zone, but I'm open to do 2 p.m. PST today.
right,
But again,
that's
I think
5 p.m.
I think that we have enough. Again, sorry guys, if you probably you were talking about pinging me in the Slack or something, but look, I'm not always on Slack like Steam Dev Slack, and the reality is I have multiple workspace open on my Slack. And I sorry if you are trying to look for me over there. I might be slow, but Elizabeth is always on Slack, and she is the one you guys been talking to all the time. If you have anything, try to reach me, and she can definitely arrange an open channel. But I'm just not always on Slack. For full transparency.
So you want to do this in 3 hours from now, and we're gonna and is the meeting place in Slack? Is that where you're suggesting?
Oh, sorry. Let me take a look. Is it possible we do 3 p.m. PST? 3 p.m. PST?
That would be 6 p.m.
Is that be all right?
Anytime works for me.
Thank you, guys. Really appreciate your effort.
So we just need to know 6 p.m. 6 p.m. But where? Where do
you want to do a Zoom?
I think a Zoom could work.
So we can share the Zoom link and everybody can get it.
Okay.
But I mean, I think that's it. Sorry, you go.
I think this is about as far as I think we should go without getting any other witnesses involved. I think this is at a good spot where we're certainly not fully de-escalated, but we're at least having some kind of pathway to it. And it's not, years or months away. It's let's give people time to meet, and let's go try this again in 3 hours. And that I at least consent to that. I don't know what others will do, but I think that's a great next step.
It's good for me. Thanks, Roy.
Yeah, thank you, guys. I think it's a good first step, and
Roy,
I think that everybody has all the intention.
This is great. Thank you for initiating this. Thank you for coming here. And I know that this is still a really tense and uncomfortable time, but this to me was a really productive discussion, and I appreciate you having it with us.
Cool, really appreciate it. Thank you guys for having me here. I'm looking forward to talk more to the community, and let's team on and carry on, do good things.
Sounds good.
Peace.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Bye.
I want to add here that having listened to Roy and listened to other people around Roy, I think that he's genuinely here to try to find a solution. I don't think it's worth us moaning at him about what's happened so far. I think there's a lot of pain and anger in that, and it just leads to negativity. The guy is here to find a solution, and I think there is one. And let's try and focus on that and kind of guide ourselves through to get to that solution. We can deal with the past later.
Frederica, I brought you on. I couldn't. There's a lot going on here, so it seems like there's more witnesses. I'm gonna go bring them on, and after some witness talk, I can bring this back to just like a full town hall. But how did you think that went? What do you want to say? And hopefully, does that even seem like we're starting to move in a better direction?
My biggest concern is it sounds like they still don't understand what a blockchain is. A blockchain is a decentralized distributed ledger, and it's controlled by the consensus mechanisms. If you have one person controlling the whole system, it's not a blockchain anymore. And they're threatening the very concept of DPoS as a consensus mechanism. This is Luke Stokes talking. Sorry, I should say that. But it just worries me that the people that have such a large amount of stake that was specifically designed not for voting for the last almost 4 years just doesn't seem concerned about that they took over the chain. And then maybe this is a cultural thing, or there's people that seem to be fine with this. I've seen comments on Steem where people are like, yeah, nobody cares about decentralization. I've seen that on Twitter. And it just boggles my mind. It's like, if you don't care about decentralization, don't use Steem. This is a blockchain-based social media platform. The whole point is decentralized distributed governance. It's not about one person controlling the chain. So it's like, if they don't fundamentally understand that or have any concerns about that, I feel like that's such a major impasse that I don't see how we can overcome that. I feel like I'd rather that stake be distributed on the open market to other people who care about that. That's what I'm currently feeling.
Other folks want to chime in. Frederica, you kept putting a 1 in, and I only saw it after. I'm sorry.
Yeah, sorry. I was running across the city to get home so I could get on air with my proper headset because I wanted to talk to Roy. But I see I get the opportunity later on. No, I think, it's good, of course, for them to be acknowledging the Steem community the way that they do. I think it's important for us that we want to be a blockchain in which people like Tron and Justin Sun can invest a large amount of money, even if it's someone else coming in and buying a big sum that's not the Ninja mine in the future. they should be able to do so without everyone fearing for the future. So I think we're learning some good lessons there. But I think it's of paramount importance that we do what Luke says in the sense of enabling a system where we don't need to trust someone that comes in with a complete different set of understanding, that they will just act the way that we expected Ned to do in the past. I think that's the rough discussion, and that's one that's kind of independent of Tron in my mind, because it's one where we've exposed a little bit of a vulnerability in the system. And so I think that's a discussion we need to have anyways. And it's a good way to de-escalate a bit, because it exists whether or not it was Tron who bought Steam Inc. or Twitter or Reddit or anyone else. But there really is a rough question that needs to be had about the intended use of that stake, whether that's for voting or for development of the community and the platform. And it's hard to see a very, an agreement there that's going to just come about. But for sure, there has to be some form of de-escalation and focus on actually using these lessons learned to improve the protocol itself. And a last notice, and of course, we want this now to be about collaborations, but I can't help but take note of the fact that we've been trying for a week after the acquisition, before the soft fork, to speak with people like Roy to answer some of those key questions about the stake and how it was intended to be used and if it would be used for voting. And now we know that he is able to reach Justin with a quick phone call and have him delete a post like the one he did, which just means that editing some of the hostile announcements that we've seen in the past and to get clarifications, if needed, can happen fast, and it just didn't happen. So that I find that worrisome. I can't help it.
Other folks. Dan, are you still here?
We also have Eli joining us. I don't know if she realizes that, so I wanted to let her know and let everybody else know that Eli Powell is live on air. If you want to speak,
let Eli go if she's here.
Okay, sure. Yeah, I was just typing, but now that I'll just address it here. So, it's been the last couple of weeks have been the biggest mess I've ever witnessed in my life. Everything got started off on the wrong foot. Lots of bad miscommunication, communications coming out of their Asia office that was like, who's putting this out? They don't know what they're talking about. So there's been a lot of work. And then, Ned still had his hand in things, and actions that were taken were certainly not mine or Justin Welch's recommendations. Justin Welch and I have been doing nothing but in our power to get them to do the right thing. We are the voice for the community. It's just been a learning curve for Tron, but I think we've finally come full circle after a very painful couple of weeks. I think Roy, excellent job trying to, get to the happy medium place to negotiate things between the community and Tron. I think we were making finally some real progress. Yeah, it sucks to wake up and see that post. I think, again, that was just miscommunication, not understanding, what we're trying to do to bridge the gap, to get these two groups to come together, to put the guns down, to finally get to a place where we can all work together. So it's, every day is putting out fires. It's, again, I feel like the core team working on this, we're still just trying to do the best thing we can to figure this out. Where we are. I mean, I see that I oversaw the mass exodus. That's not true. That's just not true. I mean, if I had all that power, that would be, a whole nother story, but I don't. All I can do is just beg and plead for people at the top who have the power to make the right decisions. And that's all I'm doing. That's all I've been doing ever since I got to Steemit is, trying to get Ned, like, Ned, you can't do this. Like, why are you doing this? This is suicide. And, we're kind of in that same boat, but I'm hoping we can really quickly course correct and, dear God, find a way that we can all work together.
What,
But I don't. I
what I
mean,
found fascinating, Eli, is that through all this turmoil, you didn't reach out to the witnesses at all since the acquisition happened, and we were like left out from this discussion, like secondhand trash or something. Whereas we are the elected witnesses of this blockchain, and we weren't included in any of your discussions. So I don't know how you can come here and say you're overwhelmed and trying to get everybody together and the all powers, blah blah blah. It's, for me, it's just nonsense.
I get that. And basically, we were in a holding pattern on what we could communicate or not. Because they didn't know what they were doing at the time. There wasn't a plan in place, and I wasn't at liberty to reach back out. Meanwhile, I am telling them, guys, we have a huge problem here. This will happen. They will take everything. They will lock up the stake that you just bought. No. We've got to buy some time. We were going to meet with them in San Francisco, which we did. But I can only say so many things and beat a dead horse. And if people don't take my advice, and again, I don't own that stake, so it was out of my hands.
Dan, do you want to chime in?
Yeah, a few minutes. I got something going.
Okay. Have we missed anybody yet? Are there other witnesses that are in the audience that want to come on air? I'm happy to go take others as well. I mean, this whole thing is so tricky, and I really respect a lot of the varying opinions, especially while so heated. Just fork off. We're gonna get out of here. And by that I mean that we're going to make our own sister chain and just leave. We're never going to deal with this again. And others say you can't trust the witnesses, and some of this community is saying you can't trust Justin. I mean, it's such a challenge, especially with the spot that we've gotten. And what I hope to happen in that meeting would be something like baby steps. Let's do this piece by piece in the smallest atomic increment possible and start building trust that way. Because maybe this thing can work. I mean, I've taken so much shit because I started saying I'm bullish on where this thing can go. And it's clearly been I'm going to quote CZ, a fiasco. This has been a fiasco, but that doesn't mean that that's 100% how this thing has to end up. And I know some people are not going to like that answer, and some people will be thrilled by that answer. But if we take baby steps and we kind of figure this out, then maybe there's a path we chart together. And maybe there are some that don't. And my God, I so respect it at this point. How could anybody say, there's no reason to fork? There's a million reasons to go fork and have a separate chain than here. I get that, but I also think that there's reasons to stick around, and I think there's validity to how people are feeling, and if we can sort of do this calmly, we might be able to figure something out.
I guess I just keep coming back to the definitions, the core principles that are represented here. If we can't even agree on those of what is a blockchain, what secures a blockchain, what is the definition of a threat against a blockchain, if there's a concept that it's just no big deal to centralize a blockchain and run it as an individual, how do you get past that? How do we come in good faith with that type of conversation? We made our change and said, let's have a meeting. And the response was positive. Yeah, let's have a meeting way out in March 6th. Not tomorrow, not tonight, but a long time from now, let's have a meeting. And really that was timing to get his, exchange relationships in a place where he could pull off what he pulled off. And so it's like, and then we see this post last night after a conversation that specifically said, I don't want to get involved in voting. And they're still voting. And they're still like making demands about who they're going to vote. It's just, I mean, his own team member Roy is being like, "What the frick, dude?" So at this point, I'm kind of starting to feel like there's not much point in words. There's not much point in trying to come to agreement. I think we kind of getting to the point where we put it on chain, right?
Yeah, I absolutely want to second that. This is Frederica here. I mean, if we want Steem to be an enterprise grade resource and technology that anyone wants to invest in and use and rely on, then they can't have to be part of this politics and come to these Discord meetings and, you know, set aside a lot of time to build relationships and trust. It just doesn't work. It has to be something where a takeover like that is literally impossible, whereby, I mean, there are a few ways to get to that. I agree that it's very hard to imagine an outcome here that does not involve a quite radical change, whether that's a new token where people who don't want to recognize that stake balance as trons to use for whatever purpose they want, or whether it is hard coding something different into this current version of Steem, where we don't need to take anyone's word for anything. I do sympathize with Tron and with Justin. I think that it's unfortunate that we now have to do some form of housekeeping somewhere around that now, right after they've come and bought that stake. But it's hard to just see a scenario where, you know, we talk a bit and then there's an agreement.
So it was Frederica breaking up just a little bit for you guys, or is this just my Discord about to crash on me?
I think he was okay.
Okay. Well,
it crashed on me earlier.
Yeah,
so
my Discord might
possible.
crash, and if that happens, the audience will not be able to hear you. So if you see me leave this channel, I'm just keeping everything as as light as possible. Not even checking messages or anything. I don't know. People are trying to DM me. Sorry guys, I can't check it. And if I do leave, I'm going to come back in 10 seconds. So just want to let you guys know though.
Please ping me with in chat if I ever break up. Sometimes it lags a bit, but I guess that's for people listening just as much because of the number of people.
Yeah, well, if anything is breaking up for me when I hear it, that means that OBS is picking that up as well and broadcasting it to the audience, so they hear exactly what I hear. Which is why I was wondering if it's just a me problem or if it's everybody problem. Anyway, I'm sorry. I don't want to derail the discussion. We're having a great discussion. I know it's a bit heated in here, guys. I know there's a lot of emotions running. There's a lot at stake. So just keep this discussion.
Actually, that's really part of why I wanted to go see at least. Well, first off, this meeting's supposed to go to 5, so hopefully it happens after 5. But also just providing some time to go process what's being said and hear. If we just go in there all raw emotion, then I'm not sure how we can have a good conversation. So it's good to be angry now and feel that and then release it, because we have work to do, and it's hard to do that while fuming.
I would suggest that to try to push to make the meeting public. I don't know if that's going to be possible, but and maybe not even just broadcast, but just have it in a public voice chat room or something. But I don't know. That's just my 2 cents.
Can I just I want to make a comment here. Some people have asked me to get on the mic. This is Luke Stokes talking. One of the things that concerns me in the Steem community is that, for the people who disagreed with what the witnesses did, well, there's a couple of things I want to highlight about that. It was a very difficult decision, and I wrote a whole post on trying to understand property and this risk of the ramifications of someone feeling they got censored on a blockchain, which is, again, against the entire ethos of a blockchain. I know this. I've been in the blockchain space for more than 7 years. This was not an easy decision to make, but I don't think it was made irrational. And the actions of the owner of this stake proved that it was not an irrational, emotional, knee-jerk reaction. It was a very clear and present threat to the decentralized governance of the blockchain. That was the assessment from many stakeholders, witnesses, app developers. There was days of conversation about this going, oh no, what are we going to do? And we all decided, and my initial point, and I wish Roy was still on the call, I would have asked him about this. My initial intention was, we're going to push out this code and have a meeting that same moment. I literally had an email thread going with Justin and Roy from a mutual friend that introduced me to him, because I was hoping to say, look, we can push out this code, have a conversation, figure out where your attention is, and then move on from there, which would, in my mind, as a witness, I would have meant remove the restrictions on your stake. Once I know what you're going to do with the stake, I can respond accordingly, which means go to another chain or whatever. I was never going to say this isn't your property. I still think it's his property. I think he got, sold a bum deal. We won't get into all that. But the point being, we have our own community members who are sitting here who don't understand that all of their value, all of their content, all of their tokens, everything is completely insecure right now. It's a little bit more secure. Thank you for those who have, started voting for community witnesses, but it was completely insecure. And it proved that the actions of the witnesses were not irrational. And not only that, the one witness, to Tim's credit, he stuck to his guns and had principle and said, you know what, the liquid part, I don't want to block. I felt the same way. He got voted out. That to me shows DPoS was working. And in my post, I made it clear, yes, I'm supporting this. If you disagree, go vote for a different witness. That's DPoS. This is a clear and present threat to the security of the chain from our perception based on what happened that week with the Tron blockchain and how Justin voted there. And what we saw today is another example of irrational behavior. I mean, what kind of CEO is going to say fuck 4 times, out of 11 points? So it's like, I don't think we were acting emotionally or irrational. We were recognizing a clear and present threat, and we want to take action to prevent. And I feel like those in our own community who are supporting this blockchain who don't understand that, I just don't understand your argument. How can we not understand that? Like, well, if you don't want a decentralized, protected, distributed blockchain, why are you here?
Yeah, I think so. Can I play devil's advocate without advocating for this? I mean, part of what my gig is to go help figure out what are the concerns and perspectives of other side. How do we find like the Venn diagram overlap? I don't agree with any of the things that I'm about to say, but from the limited conversation I've had and what I've read, it really seems like Justin bought this, it's mine, and they either ignored or didn't know that the stake had some kind of attachment, or that there's a social contract or a legally binding contract. None of that was in their place. They took, fiat money and purchased Steem, and they feel they have every right to use it however they want. And if it wasn't Steem at stake, if it wasn't from this company, I would say the same thing. If Justin's son went on the market and bought 10 million Steem and he goes and he votes with it, I'm not going to be screaming bloody hell. He's a stakeholder. He gets to make whatever freaking decisions with his stake that he wants. But to me, and I think this community, and where there's this giant disconnect, is that that the Steem that lives in Steemit is different than all the other Steem around here. And I think if he doesn't acknowledge that or understand it, and I agree, having that much stake in one place is like really that centralized, and that goes against the DPoS ethos. I agree with that. And the only reason why I think we really tolerate it was because the whole plan this entire time would be, it's going to be non-voting, it's going to onboard users, and it's going to grow the chain, which, in theory sounds swell.
I'm not sure if you want me to respond.
Anybody's welcome to respond.
Yeah, I mean, I said my piece. I understand that he bought property. He feels his property was threatened, and he took what he thought was appropriate action to protect his property. What I don't appreciate is what he determines is appropriate action. And to me, it's someone who doesn't understand blockchain. It's not supposed to be centralized. If it is, it's not valuable. It's not secure. It's not Byzantine fault tolerant. It's just not a blockchain. And I've worked too hard, and many of us have, to make this a blockchain and actually build cool stuff on it and enjoy it with our communities. And so to have someone, there's a reason all the Steem employees left. They don't support this either, and so it's just kind of, and I shouldn't say all, I'm a good majority of it. So as far as a plan forward, it's a very difficult thing to say, yeah, it's okay that we have someone who doesn't really understand blockchain in charge of kind of the brand identity that clearly the exchanges listen to when they think about this blockchain. That's a concern to me. Part of me wants to have a different brand identity that's not tainted in that way.
I get that, but this is my home.
I think if we're going to move forward, there has to be more conversations about how he sees the Tron ecosystem and the other projects he's involved with, and his vision for crypto benefiting from a decentralized. Because if there are things there, then there's opportunity there, regardless of what happens with this current situation. And I mean, and if he doesn't see anything there, then really we will know that it was all about picking up cheap Steem and making a profit of it. And then, I think we would be wise to go our own separate direction. But if there are to be anything to be done with them, it has to be based on an understanding of how Steem as an empowering technology can actually help grow their own user bases, have communities around them, all these things. And if they haven't even looked at that or, have a clear idea for it, then that's quite telling too. And I certainly think we should push to have the next meeting something that can be recorded and shared. I think my core idea, going back to, where do we go from here, is that it shouldn't be one single entity that can just decide the future of this chain. I mean, that's exactly what Agrod and Luke is getting to here. It has to be something that is done by consensus and by community wish. So I think my purpose with these meetings with them, which some people are questioning because they feel that it's a bit beyond repair, I still think is important in terms of just getting raw information out there for people to make up their own mind about the direction they want to go, and then make a vote accordingly.
Some guy, Marky.
Sorry, ask the question again.
There's not a question. Just what are you thinking, or what's your read?
My objective was just to move us forward. If they can't do any concessions, there's no path forward. I've been spending all day hitting up Twitter, doing other things, and just working on this. And to me, the next step forward is to start doing shit rather than talking about it. So that's all I care about right now.
Well, hopefully that happens at 6 or whatever, 6 p.m. Eastern or 3 p.m. Pacific. I mean, you can't just do stuff. You kind of have to coordinate a plan. I think that meeting is to coordinate a plan. Whether or not everybody goes for it, I have no idea. There's a tough sell here because there's some witnesses that are going to say, "Oh hell no, I'm not supporting letting Binance and Huobi off the hook. They made a decision to power up custodial stake." And I think there's other witnesses that'll say, letting them off the hook so that we can resolve the governance is better.
Yeah, I don't think that. I think anybody going into a meeting like this without even wanting or without even willing to entertain the idea of conceding, without entertaining the idea, meaning you're not committing to it, you just will entertain it. Like anybody going to that is going to go into that meeting with bad faith, and I don't think that's going to be productive with anything. So, I mean, whether you like it or not, at least entertain the idea. Right now, I think we're closed this down. This is just for top witnesses for now. We might open it back up into the town hall in just a few minutes, but we're kind of I know a lot of people got a lot of stuff to say. We'll just hang tight, guys. And people are wanting to talk about sister chains and stuff. I think it might come to that if we can't keep decentralization going. But I think that's not really something we need to discuss right now until we figure out what's going on with this meeting and if there is something that could be fruitful from it. That's just my 2 cents.
I mean, I don't think there's any harm talking.
And there goes my Discord. I knew that was going to happen. Okay, well, sorry, you guys can't hear Agrode speaking. I'm sure he's stringing together some eloquent sentences.
Steem at stake goes to null. You might have a Steem at.
Sorry, Ag. Right when you started speaking, my Discord crashed. So could you start all over again for the audience, please?
Sure. So you can have different versions of what happens. I mean, if all this shit, if people want it, or if just things go badly, like these, a variety of sister forks can happen. You could have one where Steem at stake goes to null, one where Steem at stake goes to the SPS. You could have one where balances across the board are adjusted, and you could have one that has user account names, but all the balances are zeroed. And you could have one where user account names and passwords being the same, but use totally different technologies. Like, whale shares, WeQ, bear shares, peer plays. Like, there's a bunch of these sister forks that exist, and they normally don't get much traction. So maybe that'll continue being the case.
I saw a good poll. Just sorry to interrupt, but I saw a good poll on Twitter today. I think it was by Gold Matters, asking, would you rather a $10 centralized Steem or a $1 decentralized Steem? And the dollar amount really doesn't matter, but like 10 to 1 value. Would you rather have your coins worth 10 times more but be on a centralized chain, or would you rather have a $1 and be on a decentralized chain? And the results were overwhelming. Now, honestly,
what was the results? Was it's the decentralized chain? That would be my guess.
Yeah, $1 overwhelmingly. Like there was a couple of people that voted for the other one, but this is not a scientific poll or anything, but it can kind of help guide engaging what people want. And I do think that with these witness votes that we've seen in the past few days, with this huge amount of community like discussion over these past few days, we can really see that's that echoes that poll. Like it's not just one data set that you can run off of to figure out this kind of stuff.
Everything about this has been about governance to me. Again, I hate their power down plan, but everything else sounds fine. I think there's real trust issues now, but just talking about like the product roadmap, that sounds good. I like what they're talking about, minus the power down stuff. That stuff is.
Well, and the downvotes too.
Yeah, I mean but that wasn't in their roadmap post. That was in Justin's like midnight or 2 a.m. Copy pasta from, I think he was copying a Project 7 post.
The thing is, though, that I have no reason to think that they view this as a public proposal for something that they will actually edit based on feedback. It seems to me that they or maybe they will edit it based on feedback, but then when they're set on a roadmap, they want to push it through. And they won't. They will feel that they are in their right to use that stake to vote it through if it comes to it.
Yeah, I mean that's part of what needs to be resolved, is that in order for any kind of partnership to exist, it needs to include that stake that's on Steem accounts is not voting. And look, we can make demands and we can say you need to do it right now, but obviously they don't. So, but I think if we can try to have a conversation with what are the next steps? How do we do what is the baby step to start getting these removed, for us to get control of our chain back, for us to how do we do that? I mean, we could go coexist in this weird power struggle forever. That sounds terrible, but maybe there's a way to not do that.
Well, I mean, there is still this fine balance between, on one side, ensuring that we get what we want, and at the same time, recognizing that it's not as if Steem was this perfect blockchain 3 months ago that was just waiting to moon, and now Sun has come here and ruined everything, and we're doing damage control. I mean, there are things that we have been needing for a long time in terms of making improvements, having financial resources, and all of that. So, I mean, I really know that in this emotional time and after what they did, people just want to see them get the hell away. But you know, we really need to see that there should be opportunity for projects like that to come and have an interest in Steem and be a part of Steem. But it can't be something that relies on trust. I mean, analysis of whether or not Justin Sun is trustworthy is interesting, but it shouldn't be what we depend on. I mean, even if he did come across as very trustworthy and had a good record, I mean, it still shouldn't come down to that.
Okay. I want to offer the witnesses one more kind of like, I don't know if it's closing, but if you'd like one more thought, you are welcome to it. And then I'd like to go open this thing back up as a town hall. Some real shit just happened. So let's hear what the people think. Luke, Fred, or
yeah, this is Luke here. I mean, I've been pretty active on Twitter because to me, this impacts all blockchains as far as, especially DPoS and proof of stake blockchains, as far as the perception of security and what is a blockchain. So I've been really active on Twitter and doing videos on YouTube and stuff because I'm trying to get a feel for where people are at. And what concerns me is a lot of people I keep seeing don't seem to care much about decentralization. You know, the people that are supporting these activities are saying, well, no, you should have worried more about, preventing censorship than you should worry about the entire chain being run by one human being. And I'm still really confused by that. I'm like, you'd rather have a chain that you feel is not censorable because one person controls it? Like, that's just, the argument makes no sense to me. So I guess I'm hoping that people that are involved in this space will spend the time to be educated to understand the fundamentals of blockchain technology, what gives it security, understand the Byzantine fault tolerance. What does that even mean? Understand that the distributed nature of these protocols is what gives them security. If people don't understand that, then they're going to be making arguments, sometimes very passionately, that are just fundamentally incorrect from the very definitions of the technology. So I don't know. I'm a little discouraged. I hope we can spread more education and information so people can understand why a blockchain is a blockchain. And if Steem is not a blockchain, if a DPoS and POS is not a blockchain, then, hooray for the proof of work maximalists, right? But you're not going to build what we built on Steem on proof of work. So I'm hopeful people get educated, and hopefully people like, the people on this call can help with that.
Wow. Did you see what Julia just posted? Another exchange just listed Steem. It says, I never heard of this exchange, BITEEU, BTU? No. It says Steem is now listed on B2. We're welcoming Steem holders from other exchanges. B2 is not going to freeze Steem wallets. Neither will it try to compromise consensus. Hashtag B2, hashtag Steem hostile takeover.
I think this certainly can be a lot of opportunity and good momentum because everyone's eyes are on Steem right now. Exchanges like that probably know that this is their opportunity to get Binance customers who hold a bit of Steem, but who also holds other DPoS coins or other crypto and just doesn't want to be involved with that anymore to move over. I mean, you got to make use of this. And I have to say that, even though there's a lot of risk right now, I still feel like we have a better ticket to make some noise and to get seen and to reach the ultimate goal of a tokenized web than we had half a year ago. So, whatever the solution is, it can't be one where we need to trust the word of Justin Sun or Tron on any topics, but make use of what we got and keep the work up when it comes to making noise outside of Steem, sharing with Tron and Sun on Steemit itself about how important decentralized governance is and how people are not interested in being part of a chain where they can just say, we will give you governance except when we don't like it.
All right. I'm going to start taking people from the audience. So, hey, 2-minute time limits on this. Get to your point, share your point. I don't need long introductions. There's presumably a lot of people that want to share. So,
and I'd like to reiterate that we're talking about solutions. We're not going to discuss downvotes or past forks. We're talking about solutions and moving forward here. And people that were asking me to come on air, tag Rondon and say you want to come on air, or say I'd like to speak, or say drag me or whatever, just to let me know. Tag Rondon, and we'll get you on air. I can't remember who all was asking earlier, but
you can just put a 1 in chat too. So put the number 1 in the chat. And
it moves so quick though.
It's not that bad.
It's not bad anymore, but earlier a 1 would have not worked. Okay, so Richard Krill found his way back in. We'll get Bluefin Studios on. Scopio has a question. Did you want to answer that question, Ag?
I mean, if he just takes the stake that's meant to grow this ecosystem, then our fearless leader Ned exit scammed the fiat, and then Justin exit scams the Steem. That's terrible. Bluefin, I think you can speak. Do you have your mic ready?
I do.
Go for it.
So I'm going to ask questions of the witnesses, including some that have commented that they are not interested in speaking. You guys going into this 6 o'clock meeting, 6 Pacific, 3 Eastern, is there a place where you can sort of let your views known to the community so that we can feel like we understand what you're going in to negotiate with? Is this I guess I would ask the question, and I don't mean to pick on any one witness, but is this we want it to be, you got to remove those sock puppets first before we negotiate, or is there a give and take, an intent to go into a give and take?
Yeah, I mean, that's on every single witness to figure out how they want to do that.
Well, I mean, without putting the pressure on Ag, I guess I'm asking is, what? How do we feel comfortable with you guys negotiating if we don't know what you're negotiating for? And I'm not trying to put you all on the spot. I know, hey, this guy just dropped, we want to meet. So I know you guys need a few minutes to get together and say, we need to discuss it. But I guess I'm just interested in hearing from the individual witnesses first.
Folks can answer. I mean, I try to listen to both sides and then figure out what's the right thing to do. So
I'm pretty sure I can guess Dracos's opinion, and I'm pretty sure I get Marky's opinion too. And I'm not saying I disagree with one or agree with one. I'm just saying I really want to hear what they are.
I mean, first off, look, I'm not even sure that all the other witnesses will show up. Like, the emotions are pretty high. People are pretty pissed. They might not even be there. So I think that's something to keep in mind. Like, everybody's processing this so differently. I'll be there. I'll listen. I kind of think if it's all or nothing, that's bad. Again, my argument's just do this in the biggest baby steps possible. So figure out, maybe we don't shoot for get rid of all 20 witnesses. We say, all right, go get rid of one. What will that take? And see if we can't do this piece by piece. which I'm sure other people will be like, no way. But I try to find practical solutions to impractical problems.
So,
anybody else want to answer that? Dracos, Luke, Fred?
Well, the way I see it, this is Dracos here. The way I see it, we only did one thing. We only did a soft fork to freeze that stake, right? And since that, what has Justin done? He goes on Twitter, he calls us hackers, he undermines the the core of our blockchain, which is decentralized and community driven. Then he drags the exchanges to vote for his sock puppets. Then he wants to power down fast so the exchanges get their liquidity back, and so that he can also exit, as he said in the meeting yesterday, that all he wants to do is make money and exit, right? Then he goes on Twitter again, bashing us, calling us hackers and whatnot. Then he tries to bribe witnesses today by proposing to them to run his soft fork and get his vote and whatever. All we did is one action, and it was met with a dozen of counter reactions, which are very hostile, in my opinion. So, what is there to negotiate really? The first thing he should do is just stand down, unvote his sockets, and fix his met with the exchanges. It's not our fault that the exchanges messed up. They have no clue how the system works. They lock their customers' funds for 13 weeks. That's not our job to fix it in 3 days.
Okay, well, we understand the situation, Dracos. But what we're at right now is we're at an impasse, right? We're at a Mexican standoff, to use a swoop term. What is, like, there is no path forward? Like, what if the exchanges are declining voting rights and not, declining the proxy and all of that, like, where there's no more, they can't do nothing. What their damage is already done, right? Okay, like right now they're suffering the consequences in the fallout, and other exchanges are capitalizing on the opportunity. So right now it's perfect. Well, so I mean, allowing them to power down, they're still going to face public scrutiny for using custodial funds. They're still going to have a PR nightmare. A lot of people on Steem are not going to trust them anymore. The damage is done. So I don't understand why being so hardball on this whenever there might be a solution that makes both people happy, or makes both people equally miserable, and actually provides a way out. Because right now we're not seeing any ways out, and just being like, this is never going to happen is kind of a bad foot forward in order to make anything happen.
And to follow a little bit, it's back to Bluefin. To follow a little bit on what Rondon just said, what Pensive was saying yesterday is that right now we have the PR advantage. Right now we have the, all the goodwill of the public and the crypto media and blah, blah, blah. We can't go on for 3 months with this because we will end up looking like, it will not end well for everybody if it takes forever.
I think this is. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Okay, I'll just revert to something I wrote shortly after Hard Fork 22.2, in which I had stated that our support for the fork was that it was a temporary measure until the new owners of Steem Inc. had given clear details about their intended use of the stake, and also made the necessary measures to ensure that we could trust that those promises would be kept. And my criteria were at the time that we first got a concrete answer, and where if that was drastically different from the original promise that Steem Inc. had, then I think it would be fair for the community and stakeholders who invested time and money into Steem on that basis to have the time and availability to leave before such changes are applied. Because, you can't just change that without giving people an exit. And then if they promise that the stake will be used exactly the way that Ned and others or Steem Inc. had said beforehand, which would be sort of the minimum thing or kind of maximum thing that we could really demand, that they work with us to implement a way in which we can do this in a trustless fashion. So that would be what I'm really hoping for, and that we can move towards. Now, unfortunately, the state of this is changing almost every 3 hours, because every 3 hours there's a new twist in the plot. So it's a bit hard to really set something in stone that's thought out for a long time. Which is why for me right now it's just as much about getting them to talk and to make sure that they have an accurate understanding of what different witnesses and community members and stakeholders think, and that the community at large is then informed about such information so that they can make a more informed DPoS decision in their voting.
Can I make a comment real quick?
Go for it. State your name.
This is Richard Krill. I think I finally got my connection problem figured out. Sorry about that. So I think there's a lot of valid points being made right now. But I think what would be the most helpful for us moving forward, I think our goal is clear. We want to get enough witnesses into place to have consensus, to have power to get things more secure. But I think the question that we really want to be focusing on, or what we want to be deciding at this point, is and I think we are to some degree, but I think it would help to focus more on what we can and should do once we have this power. I know there's obviously a possibility that that doesn't happen and we have different things to worry about. But if we do achieve our goal of getting enough witnesses for consensus, then we've got the clear options. We could leave things as they are, and you can do whatever with this funds. We can we've talked about several different things. I think it would be valuable to try to gauge and see what are the most viable options here, the ones that we're going to be able to get the community to get the witnesses to agree on. I think would be a good focus. Maybe that's not correct, but that's just my thoughts.
This is decentralized. I can add on that real quick. I got to go to work in like 10 minutes, so I just want to jump in real quick. But I just want to make a quick comparison to like some real life stuff, because this is humans just being humans, and I get that everyone feels that it's a professional and the proper thing to do to try to negotiate. But there's a certain mindset of people that once they get you to agree to negotiate, they never really intend on like meeting up their end of the bargain, or they just want to continue to negotiate until they get enough time to complete their plan. You know what I mean? So if you look at like the annexation of like Crimea, for example, and like all that Ukraine stuff they have with Russia, they never said anything. They just kept working behind the scenes. So I just want to say, like, I know a lot of us are Americans in here and European people, and like we like to err on the side that humans are better and stuff like that. I mean, obviously every human likes to think like that, but just so you know, there's a certain mindset to these politically like embattled like ecosystems in the world, like China and other places. So they have a very good skill set on how to talk a lot of bullshit and get a lot of nothing done while working on their own personalized roadmap. So I would say like the only road forward, in my opinion, and this should have been discussed way long ago, even when Ned was in place. But the point is that the ninja mine is the problem. There's no way anybody can argue the ninja mine is not the problem. The fact that we're arguing about everything but the ninja mine, I think, is kind of stupid, because all you really have to do is someone's calling me racist. All you really have to do is take away the ninja mine, and all these problems go away. Yeah, let Tron have a stakeholder and Steem it. That's fine. Let them put a DApp forward. That's fine. But I think for the integrity of the blockchain, the only logical like step forward is to make sure that the Steem chain is not in control of someone that has the ninja mine. So I would say that that's the only step. That's what we need to focus on, is what happens if this is like this conversation doesn't grow, doesn't get any better. They just keep saying things and then doing nothing. There needs to be a solid plan in place so that like if the hard fork starts to go through or needs to go, they didn't have 2 weeks to formulate a plan and make sure that there was no fighting back. As you guys see, this town hall every day is getting less and less busy, which means people are already burning out. So like was mentioned earlier, all the PRs everybody's looking at us right now, and the moves that we make are going to show how serious we are. So to all the people that are witnesses, I would say, get your boots on. It's time to do some work that you've been, hopefully being ready to do for the last couple of years. People like Luke are pretty good at about explaining the purpose of witnesses and things like that. So I think you need to go back to those questions and not so much what's Justin going to do, what's Justin going to say, more about what's our job, what are we here to do. And I think that job is to safeguard the integrity of the community as a whole. And the ninja mine is the problem. I think I'll leave it at that.
Yeah, I'd like to.
I
This is
just want to. I
oh,
just
this is
want
Luke.
to
Just
add to this very quickly that I think the issue of having people talk in negotiations saying one thing to buy time and then work on something else in their favor as a tactic is something you'll find all over the world. I don't think it's very culturally or geographically determined. And even if
Sorry,
it was,
sorry. I just meant
just
that
one.
that
No,
Americans
sorry, I'll
suck
just.
at it. That's all I meant. Sorry, guys.
But on top of that, even if it was, I mean, our chain shouldn't really have to think about questions like that. I mean, it should be a resource and a technology that people can use and not have to think about any of that stuff.
This is Luke here. I want to make a quick comment. Thank you. I agree with much of what you said. One thing that I want to the Ninja Mine stake did not take over the chain. It was actually the centralized stake of the exchanges. So we have larger problems than just the Ninja Mine stake. So those who are like, oh, if we just fork out the Ninja Mine stake, all our problems go away. It's not exactly the case. So I'm personally looking for on-chain solutions, and block trades and others have talked about ideas where you could have a kind of cool down period on the power up so that they wouldn't be able to vote. I look at those kind of solutions that even if we were to create a brand new chain, I mean, these are fundamental DPoS improvement solutions that I'm interested in. I'm not necessarily convinced at this point that forking to a whole new chain with a new symbol and a new whatever is the best way to go. I know Agrode and others are concerned about that because they've invested so much into what they think of as Steem. At the same time, I don't know that this branding is the best branding that's going to get us anywhere significant and interesting on the world stage anyway. So I'm open to any option, but the challenge here is who's going to put forth the Genesis file, who's going to start talking to exchanges, who's going to do all the actual work. It's such a decentralized, distributed community. It's very difficult to have someone stand up and say, yeah, I'm going to do all that work. I'm going to spend the next few months, weeks, whatever it is, and make it happen. It's very, very challenging.
Well, one of my favorite things, and this is something Richard's bringing up over and over, I think he DM'd me about it, but I'm not quite sure, but essentially lowering the amount of witness votes. And this is something I brought up way before all this happened. I think, and it's been discussed on chain. It's probably been discussed in Slack. It's been discussed on GitHub, I'm sure. But lowering the amount of witness votes allows for decentralization. Even if Steem and Ink Stake is voting, even if exchanges are voting, if there was 3, 5, 6 votes that were allowed, this would not be happening. It would still be truly decentralized. Even if because this is a hole. There's a hole in the boat. We got to fix the hole. And that there is a solution. And I think just allowing less witness votes per account is the solution. And if you want to split that up among 2 accounts and have half the power, but have twice the amount of votes, then it's still the exact same. And I think that allowing 30 votes with 20 consensus witnesses is the crux of the problem.
I'm not so. I have a little bit of a mixed feeling about that. I've been someone who's been proposing having 10 votes because 10 votes means you're very far from being able to single-handedly push in a hard fork, and you also can't single-handedly push in a soft fork. But one of the arguments you made there is not necessarily all true, which is that if you reduce it to 10, you have to split it in 2 accounts, and then you have half the voting power, and then you need a lot more stake to take over. That's fair, but you can't just keep. But all else won't be equal because all the other stakeholders will also have had their votes reduced to 10, which means that they will have voted for less people in the existing top 20, which means that the threshold on stake on the existing top 20 will then be lower, which means that you're back to where you started more or less.
No,
unless the past stakeholders then concentrates their votes around the same 20 people, but then you won't have secured the chain in as good of a manner as you had before because there will be less backup witnesses and all of that.
Either way, it looks like it decentralizes it
Let me
further,
interrupt you.
which
That was
would be
Frederica. For the people listening, this is Rondon, and Richard Krill wants to say something. Go ahead, Richard.
Thanks, Rondon. Yeah, I think a lot of points that were just made were really good. And I would like to say that I think we don't know exactly what Justin Sun's intentions are, but just from what he said, I mean, from what we do know, I mean, this is clearly where we need to act to protect the chain. And for right now, it looks like there's two kind of leading solutions for this specific problem. One being the 10 max witnesses, like we were just talking about, and the other being the operation to turn off witness voting for those accounts, which somebody earlier said, well, they could just transfer it, but that can all be tracked. That can actually be managed. So those do seem like two pretty viable solutions, in my opinion. I think we should try to figure out which one of those would be the better one. For that particular problem.
I like 3 because 4 can block a hard fork. That's just my personal opinion, and that's 10% of what we have now. But I think it would truly decentralize it. And I know Frederica brought up the point that this would essentially have less people having a say or less says, but it's really not. It's breaking the stake down to have less power, like one centralized power from being able to control everything. And I don't know about decaying voting rights. I don't know exactly what problem that would fix. I mean, there is high SP accounts that vote and then forget about it. But as soon as we put in something in code, then there's another bot that is created, like auto voting, and the whole thing is still the same. We're back to where we were. So I don't really know what witness decays would fix, but I think that lowering the amount essentially takes down one of the weak points. It takes down the focus from where you can, where one stakeholder can control so much.
I agree. To me, the one that's the most interesting, that seems to make the most sense, especially in the effort to decentralize, is less witnesses. I hadn't even considered as low as 3, but that would be my vote at this moment. But I think it's a good time to just pick holes in these solutions. So why wouldn't we want to do that? 10 or 3 or something like that.
Yeah, that's another thing too. Correga brought up is instead of lowering the amount of votes, raise the consensus witnesses. That's another option as well. Same difference. It's half a dozen, 60 other, except for the fact of these consensus. They're getting paid on inflation, and then that would split that inflation among more people, and more people on the same pie is less money. And I don't know which is the right solution, but. Let's hear from. We've got a few people here joining us that wanted to talk. I want to ask the people who have already spoke their piece to go ahead and move back into the broadcast. And let's see here. We got Ganja Farmer, and then we have Freedom Point, and then we have It's Time. So go ahead. Ganja Farmer, go ahead. Hello, Ganja Farmer. Okay, well, we'll skip you and we'll move on to Freedom Point. Freedom Point, did you have something you wanted to say?
Yeah, hey guys, it's Freedom Point here. When I look at this whole thing over the last couple of weeks, I think it's kind of obvious. I look at it from a different perspective. Just because I'm looking at the people and I'm looking at the social aspect of all of this, and everyone's really excited about the publicity that this is all getting. My question is, like, when people talk about doing what's best for the community, I kind of have a couple of part scenario here. Responding to Luke Stokes from earlier, I made a comment and then he responded on air about people with the DPoS system and decentralized, and he said, why are they even here? And I think that there's something to be said for the fact of the social aspect of the blockchain. So not everybody is a crypto investor, but you have people that just enjoy the social media aspect. So then that leaves them in a position of not really caring about some of the more technical aspects, you know what I mean? And so then that leaves a divide between say, diehard decentralized and witnesses, and then the average user. So there might be a separation. So with that separation, something I've also noticed is with the push of trying to get the votes to get the top 20 back into the top 20, there is a big push, right, from what would be called the leadership. So the leadership is rallying people, right, beating the drums, getting people to vote, right? And what I've seen is this leak into all the different communities. Excuse me. I've seen it leak into the Discord communities. And then I've actually seen people that just have an opposing opinion absolutely get eviscerated, just absolutely destroyed. And my question is, when you guys go into this meeting with Roy and with the Tron Foundation, you guys are going to be doing this, right? You're speaking on behalf of the people. When you come back after making negotiations and you guys start moving forward with the decisions you're going to make, what sort of plan is everyone going to have to de-escalate all of the average users that right now they're just like slaughtering each other? You know, what is the plan to actually bring the community back into a calm state?
Yeah.
Kind of an open question to any person who tried to rally someone for a vote. I'm just wondering, are we just going to leave people out there to make their own decisions now and call them adults? Or do we just say, you know, do you guys have a plan to de-escalate?
Well, I'll just jump in quick. This is Frederica here again with the Steam Press Witness. Well, of course, the rallying is just to show disapproval of the takeover. After that, I sincerely hope that people will get engaged with Steam and will vote based on how they see people contributing to the ecosystem, and also to have a diverse set of opinions that can represent them. But I think that the only thing that can really be done to de-escalate this right now is to have meetings with Tron where we get away those suck puppet votes, so that we're not dependent on having 99% of the active community vote our witnesses to be able to block a hard fork. And then it will be much easier after that. I'm sorry, I have to go now. It's been quite nice to see people like Roy come in here and get to share what he thinks. And I look forward to be able to hopefully get more information out to people about what they are thinking and what they are doing, so that people can make an informed decision.
Thanks for joining us, Frederica. Glad to have you here. Glad to have your thoughts as always. I see Follow BTC News has joined us, and I don't know if Dracos was just joining us or still here. Jeff, did you want to say something? Follow BTC News? And he muted himself. Okay. While he gets his... There we go.
Sorry, something crazy going on my keyboard here. I think I've been pounding it too hard the last few days. The keyboard. Yeah, sorry, and I only have a quick minute. I've been listening for a while now, and been involved, been busy on working on other things, not here in Discord, but other places. And then I actually have somewhere else I need to be in about 5 minutes. But kind of going along with what Frederica was saying, about it's hard to negotiate with a gun to your head. And right now, I'm all about speaking, just like we made very clear the other night. We need the sock puppets removed. And as soon as that's done, then I think it's a time that we can move forward and start discussing options on what we can do. But as far as I'm concerned, we can't make any type of negotiations. We can't have any type of discussions until the chain is given back to the community like it was before, and make it so that the community, and it's working. So I see a lot of people discouraged, but let's be clear that this has been going on for 3 days now. And in these 3 days, the community has come together and pushed anywhere from, depending on what time of the day it is, anywhere from 8 to 10 community witnesses back into the top 20. And this is because the community is speaking. It's saying, yes, we want our chain back. We don't want Justin Sun running this entire chain by himself. That's not what DPoS is. If you guys want Binance, CZ at Binance, and you want Justin Sun to run the chain, go to Tron. But you didn't want that. You have spoken with your votes. You have been voting like crazy. You have told your witnesses what you want to see, and that's our objective. And to meet that objective, they have got to remove their witness accounts, give the chain back to the community, and then we can move forward. That's where I stand.
Hey Jeff, do you think there's any value in telling them that, or should we just keep that amongst ourselves? Because yeah, Crimson Clad has given me some grief that that having this meeting, especially without preparation or how we do this, like, do you think there's value in sharing what you just said to Tron?
I already said it. I said that exact same thing the other night in the meeting. I said, I will have no more meeting. I have to go get the exact words. I don't have them in front of me. But I believe I've made it very public on Twitter, YouTube, Mediafire download links, Discord, Slack, Medium posts, Steem it posts, that I will not be in another meeting until the sock puppet witnesses are removed. Man, I don't know why I have such a hard time with that word. I swear to God. It no matter what time of the day it is, whether I've had coffee or not, that word, sock puppet it's like a trick of words for me. So yeah, I mean, I've said that all along, and I stand behind it now. I don't believe in negotiating with a gun to my head, and that's what they've done. The community has told us by their voting, they want to control this chain again. And that's what we're here to do. We are here to protect this chain, and we can only do that with our nodes running this chain like we have always done.
Jeff?
How can we go negotiate if they're telling us, well, you need to do this and do this and do this, or we're not going to give you your chain back? How can
Jeff?
we negotiate?
Well, I got a bit of a counterpoint here. Just on that thought, the gun to the head. I think both people have guns to the heads right now. Just from looking from the other perspective, and also right now, there is only negotiations. The community hasn't decided for the top 20. Like right now, there's enough stake in the community to install top 20 community witnesses. But what the community has decided is to put 10 and 10, or at least the last time I checked. I can't open a browser to look anymore, but last I checked, it's 10 and 10, which means the community decided that you guys need to negotiate this out. That's what the community. I understand. I understand what you mean. Like 35,000 votes for witnesses yesterday. It's a huge number, and it's really shaking up the entire. What everybody thought that Steem could control the top witnesses. Well, they woke a sleeping giant, and Steem can't control the top witnesses, or Steem it can't control the top witnesses, but they can do a number. And what the community has decided is. They want some negotiations, and that from the DPoS stake point of view, not from the total numbers in democracy, because this isn't a democracy; it's DPoS, and that's what we have now. So I think that not even wanting to negotiate with these guys, not even wanting to hear them out, isn't going to get us anywhere. And this is just my perspective. Okay, I'm just. Speaking as a top 200 witness, this is my perspective, and take it for what it is. But I feel like going into the negotiations with fuck you, I'm not talking to you, is we're not going to get anywhere. And right now we are at an impasse. And if that's what needs to continue, then so be it. But we lost its time again. But I don't see that as getting us anywhere right now. That's just my 2 cents. I don't know. What you got? Anything response to that?
Ron, I got about 30 seconds. I definitely respect what you have to say. You know that. I know you very well. You're a good guy, and I always respect everything you say. I respectfully disagree that the community put 10 of ours and 10 of theirs in. The community put 10 of ours back in. Binance, one person, CZ at Binance, used customer funds to put their witness nodes in the top. CZ used his stake. So you got CZ from Binance used customer funds to put the witness nodes on top. Then you got Justin Soon. So you got two people that put 10 witness nodes in the top. And then I've got, I think me and Crimson have over 7,000 voters on our witness node that put ours in the top.
I think you're missing my point, though. The fact that there is 10 witnesses in the top means the community could put 10 witnesses in the top, or 10 more. That the power is there. So what I'm saying is the fact that they haven't done that yet means that the community has decided that they want an impasse. Like the proxy token voting for some of those sock puppet witnesses and voting for some of the original top 20 witnesses and other things like that. You know, that is telling you that the community is wanting negotiations, not not back to where it was. That's I mean, from my perspective and just trying to understand all perspectives, that's where I think we're at. I just want you to know, like, I'm not saying that I understand what you're saying. I just want you to understand that the community can put in 20 witnesses that were the original witnesses, or any mixture of anything other than the top 20 or those sock puppet witnesses, but they haven't. So it's got to tell you something. We have the power to do it. It hasn't been done. Only a few of them got in there, which means there's something else to this.
I agree with what you just said. I just had an aha moment while you were speaking, and I appreciate it. I see what you're saying about the community because of the, and that makes sense. We were actually discussing this yesterday. I have no problem speaking with them about future changes to the system. I don't appreciate doing that while being held under a gun, and that's what we are right now. But we are here to represent the community. The community is telling us what they want, and I, as a witness, and Crimson Clad as a witness, are going to respect that and listen to you guys. I have to go, Ron. I'm missing another. I'm sorry. I don't have much longer to talk right now. I have to get into another meeting, but I'll be back in like an hour. You know, I'm always around.
I appreciate you coming on, Jeff. Thank you. Follow BTC News.
Agrod, I'm not sure if you have seen, but it appears that Ned is now hosting his own meeting. He's literally started his own Discord server for it.
He's such a cunt. He's welcome to do whatever. Good for him, actually. He's got to go. He's got a story to tell, and maybe people need to go hear it. I guess
Next Gen Crypto is up there, along with Ozbit Bank and a few others.
The popcorn in there has to be extraordinary.
I'm going to take a screenshot for anyone wondering.
Yeah. Are they just ripping him?
No, guys. Sending screenshot MSP Waves audience.
Yeah, I'm so excited for this. Let me jump down. Trying to have like 10 conversations at once.
So while this is going on, It's Time was trying to patiently speak. I'm just going to read what he wrote here. Justin clearly doesn't understand the mechanics of the chain. Let's use power down days /exchange as a chip and give Justin actionable, easy, and trustless thing to do. Only one thing: codify no witness voting, and then start building the trust from both sides. I think that's a possible.
The problem with the no witness voting when it's codified is that they just power down and move the stake. It's like a million Sybil attack problems everywhere we go.
Well, here's the thing, though. At least you got a 13, at least an 8-week notification of that's a possibility. Like people can make their choices of, I want to power down and get out of here because I see them doing it too, and stuff like that. Like, yeah, I mean, it's DPoS, man. I think that the lowering the witness number of votes is really a more foolhardy kind of answer to this hole in our boat. Getting pinged. So yeah, we've got a couple people here. Ganja Farmer has been waiting to talk. I don't know if he's still here, and if he doesn't speak up in the next 3 seconds, we're going to have Midlet speak, and then if he doesn't speak, then we're going to have Dr. Brian of London speak. So Ganja Farmer.
Yeah. Hey guys, I'm here.
Okay, well go ahead and what did you want to say? And be brief about it. We got a few people wanting to talk, so just keep the focus and keep on. Tell us what you got.
Well, honestly enough, I mean, I've been listening in here and I've got a little bit of stuff going on in my life here. So, what I really want to say is thank you guys all for turning this into a positive conversation where we're actually finding real meaningful ways to move forward and to fix this. If we've got to do the reducing witness votes, let's do it. I mean, we've got to ensure that our blockchain remains stable. I totally vote for the keeping the 13-week power down period. I mean, everybody has to play by that rule. It's not something that it's not a mystery. It's not something that's, singling out one person. We can't have special rights for Justin. However, he can play by the same rules that we are. If he bought in at half a penny per stock, what's the stock price right now? He made massive amounts of money already, instantly. And that's what I'd like to say. Thank you guys very much for doing this, and I can't wait to listen in and hear more. Have a nice day.
Thanks, Ganja. Midlet, you're next, and then Dr. Brian of London.
Hello, this is Midlet. I just wanted to say, just kind of drop in that with all that's being said, it feels like a lot of what people are suggesting is based on their kind of emotional outrage. Like, we need to teach these people a lesson, and we need to make sure that they know that we can't be messed with and stuff like that. And I think that that's really not as important. And I think that in terms of going into a negotiation, it should really be big picture, macro. Is this better for Steem in the big picture? Is it worse for Steem in the big picture? With that said, I think that all of the stuff, including like a fast power down or something like that, considering that that's probably like the biggest point of leverage, should be on the table. Not that we should go in and like concede that, but that we shouldn't go in and say like this is absolutely not on the table, or really saying that anything is absolutely not on the table, because I don't think that in any next meeting it's necessarily about deciding things. I think that this is my personal opinion now, I think that the best path forward is in that next meeting, just establish, like, with everything on the table, saying like what here's some things that we would be able to accept. What would you be able to accept to get to the next point, which is to have you guys stop voting on the witnesses? And that's not a salute. That's not like a, okay, we're done, this whole thing is over, let's go back. But that's like getting to the next step from like where we're at, and basically stopping, as some people are saying, the situation we're in where we both got guns at each other's head. Just how can we get to the next step, which I would think is getting them to stop. You're basically getting governance back, and what needs to happen to get that. And then with all the different things that could happen, all these different things that can play out, what I would love for the witnesses to do is, after that meeting, painting a picture very clearly of what those different sort of forks in time would look like, and what they would logically play out as. Like, oh, if we did a sister chain, like, what's that really? Because I don't really think that most people understand what that would really look like. I don't really think people understand what most of these different options would actually look like, and how that would actually play, and how that would actually impact the experience here on Steem. So I think that painting a really clear picture of that would be super, super helpful. Oh, go ahead.
So let me help with that. I don't know this for certain, but my take on this, or what I think I see, is that the most likely person to go fork this chain is actually Block Trades. He's got a development company. They have developers. They were part of BitShares. They made the last the SPS proposal. They did all that work. And I think I think there's enough bad blood that the chain is going to have a sister chain happen. And we've had that happen in the past. We've had that happen probably 5 or 6 times, but normally exactly 0 witnesses go with it. This time it looks like at least one, maybe several major witnesses would be supporting that, or maybe they might all support it. I mean, I don't know to what extent that I don't know to what extent people will move. It's a really complicated issue, and how it's billed is all going to be part of that. But what I don't know exactly, because I'm not following the threads, and I don't have like the GitHub repo, and they're not like breaking down everything that they're doing as they're doing it. But I think the most likely of the 2 options are you take Steem exactly as it is now, and we call it something different. Maybe it's carbon, maybe it's hydra, maybe it's pyrus. There's like a couple different options for what you call it, but it would be a different chain with a different name, but the exact same technology. Then when making this switch and getting it live, they say, you know what? We're so sick of this Steemit stake, so we're going to nullify it. And they take the Steemit stake and they bring it down to 0. And they might take the exact same amount and put it into the SPS, which would work on this sister chain, but I don't know. And if they're pissed enough, they might even say, you know what, we're going to do that to Binance and Huobi's account as well. And so all of those accounts might be zeroed, or all that stake might go to the SPS. There are some versions of this. So I something along those lines, I think, is what Block Trades has been hinting at. Again, I'm not Block Trades. I don't know. I'm not following that, but I'm trying to paint a picture of what sort of the realm of possibilities might be.
So I think that that's really helpful. And I think that along with that, because that's kind of painting the picture of the nuts and bolts of it. But I think for the community, what would also be really helpful is painting the picture of what does that look like to the end user experience? Because I know that everything that we have now pretty heavily relies on the infrastructure of Steemit. So if that is gone, for the average user, helping to paint the picture of like, what does this mean for the average user? Are you just going to still be able to continue with your day-to-day blogging like it is? Is it going to be slower? Is it going to be the same? Are you going to notice a difference? That sort of thing.
So I got to apologize. I was actually reading a chat and not listening. But Midlet, I want to thank you for coming on and sharing your thoughts. We've got a few more people that are wanting to speak. And I just want to remind everybody, do not DM me. Do not send me private messages. Just put into the MSP Waves audience chat that you want to speak on air. And I will bring you on air. Thank you, Midlet, for sharing your thoughts. It's time. I know you've been waiting, but I promised Dr. Brian of London. He is next. Dr. Brian of London, come on, and then it's time. You'll be after him.
Okay. Hi there, everybody. I'll be kind of brief. My partner, who I do a lot of work with, Andrew Hamilton, earlier today, he basically drafted up what it would look like if you were to legally launch, if all of us were to legally launch a class action claim against Steemit and Justin Sun and Steemit for their actions. And there really is probably a case there. But he didn't publish it. In fact, I mean, he had it kind of ready to go underneath Justin's earlier post, which I see while I was busy with my family tonight, Justin has deleted or replaced with, one line. So clearly and I caught the start of Ron's chat here. I'm going to hopefully go back and listen to the rest of it tomorrow. But obviously, Ron is much more calm and level-headed, and Justin is a bit of a fire breather. So there's a tension there. But the position of all of the community versus Steemit is quite strong because they've acted in so many ways that are unbelievable. I mean, the entire thing of getting the exchanges to vote with their custodial funds, which it's obvious from the statements from both Binance and Wabe that Justin told them flat out lies because he lied about hackers, he lied, all of that stuff. So there's all sorts of legal actions that can be taken, but the best thing about legal actions is not to ever have to take them, but to use that as the stick to get back the witnesses. But I think what I'll probably do with Andrew tomorrow, because it's very late here, is go further with drafting this and combine it with something like the demands that the witnesses and then the wider community would have in order for Justin to get released his funds, what he considers to be his funds, the 70 million that he says he bought with his own money, which is just, it's just an incorrect statement. It's that those were always Steem, owned by the company Steemit. And so,
well, I
but
gotta say,
the bottom line,
I gotta say, there's a few people that are on the side of the legal action, but I've been seeing the vast majority of people do not. They want to solve this. Yeah. They want to solve this in blockchain. Blockchain governance is what we're here for, and a lot of people.
That's kind of what I'm saying. But there's a way to word these things such that at least that we from the side of the community, it is backed up by something which is enforceable in the US, especially because all of this is clearly US. Steemit is a US company. Now, all of the witnesses are not, and the community is not, but that doesn't matter. Steemit is the company and the corporate entity that Justin bought. But the bigger thing is to just get the positions of the witnesses back so that the chain is under the control. And
well, you understand that class action lawsuits will drag out for a long time, and by that time the witness positions, it would be kind of irrelevant.
Well,
I mean,
it's the threat that's more important than it's having a credibly organized threat that can
and also think about the PR from that.
An impulse.
The government saved the blockchain. Like we're all here on the blockchain to get away from
the legal
government.
System is not necessarily the government. I mean, the legal system is there. It's administered by the government, but the laws, we're all acting under the laws. We're not living in a global lawless community yet. But anyway, that was just, I just wanted to put that out there. Hopefully, we can put something in writing that people can look at and decide what they want to take from it. So that will hopefully come tomorrow.
All attack vectors are welcome. I don't really think that you're going to get as much support on that as you might think, but maybe. I don't know. I just want to just kind of be upfront with you and let you know that
sure.
Kind of let you know the response you'll get for that. It's controversial to say the least. Anyway, It's Time has been waiting patiently for a long time to speak now. It's time. Do you hear me? Are you ready to talk? Thank you very much, Dr. Brian of London. We appreciate your thoughts and your perspective. It's time. You have me muted or something? All right. Hearing nothing. We've got somebody else on. Resilientia.
Can you hear me?
Oh, there you go. Do you hear me? I think you got me muted.
Can you hear me?
Ag, can you tell him?
I can hear you.
Hey, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay, so I'm assuming the room can hear me. So, hi guys.
Yeah, just share what you have in mind.
Okay, so I think the biggest gap right now is we're trying to find a comprehensive solution working with Justin, like a bulletproof solution, which is not possible because he just does not comprehend any of what we're talking about. It's like a different language to him. He doesn't understand anything Steam at all. So, and he's desperate and he's a little bit scared, as we can see from his posts and tweets and whatnot. So, if we want to make amends, I think we really need to give him small, bite sized actions to do and kind of do like a barter of, hey, can we do this for you? And can you do this for us? And can be as simple as, hey, we can make it the power down time from 13 weeks to 4 weeks, and can are you willing to codify the known voting stake? That's just an example. That's just the first step. I don't think any of the what you say comprehensive solutions are going to work with him because as it is, he doesn't get it for the most part. So we gotta make it really, really simple and really, really small for him to move forward. What do you guys think?
I think all the just for me, I'm not going to be involved in any talks with Tron probably, but um, for me, yeah, I think all the chips on the table. We've got there's leverage on both sides, and playing to the leverage and giving concessions is how negotiations work. I think that all that stuff, all that stuff needs to be at least explored, and the pros and the cons need to be weighed out, and yeah, there is there is something to be said about that. I don't think anybody should just take any. I don't think that there should be any kind of concessions without something that we want. But it's part of compromise, and right now we're at an impasse. Yeah, it looks like a lot of people are checking out Ned's server, but apparently he's locked it down and booted a lot of people. Are you there too, Ag?
I'm not. I can't. I couldn't bring myself to do it. I don't want to. I don't want to fight him like that. I got it. I have enough things to do that are productive that aren't just sitting there calling Ned names all day, which
Well,
would in fact be a lot of fun. But that's not my plan.
yeah, I think we've got enough catharsis. Um, and the fact of the matter is this going to be worse than the Tron guy probably. Just going to be talking points and talking points, and that's it.
I just want to thank you for the opportunity to let me speak. And my main point is this: he doesn't get it. We got to make it super simple. Explain like an ELI 5 level ask for him. That's all.
Yeah, no, totally. It's pretty obvious he does that Justin does not get our chain at all. These 3-day power downs and removing downvotes, he doesn't get it. He obviously doesn't get it, and I mean, I don't think we need like Gandalf the Grey to go in there and break it down to him on a blockchain level, and then we don't need inertia in there explaining economics to him. But if we can get
I mean,
somebody,
even in the last witness call, he could not comprehend what we're asking him to commit to. I'm not a technical person, but it doesn't look like he's either. So he's all marketing, all talk. So we gotta keep it like 3 bullet points with him. That's all I'm saying.
hey, there you go, Dr. Brian of London, your lawsuit. So Dr. Brian of London was just speaking about the class action lawsuit. So Transisto, go talk to him. The Hive wants to come on air.
Transistor, I want you to do it. You're perfect. Let's do it. I'll support it.
He still can't figure out his mic. Oh, classic Ned. All he wants to do is play guitar, man. We got the Hive live on air. I know this is turning into a bit of a shit show. Let's call this after 30 more minutes. You think? Let's 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time would be a good time to quit. I don't know. Ag, what do you think? You want to keep going until 5? Ag, not hearing anything from you.
Yeah, I think it's okay to end. This is these are crazy days, and if we really, I don't know. Like, I'm going to be at a meeting with Tron in 90 minutes. Wait, what is it? It's 6 p.m. So 150 minutes. So I'll be there. I don't know if a single other witness will show up. Um, and I respect if they boycott it. You know, they have offered a place to talk, and yet their witnesses are still running. Um, and I can understand why witnesses would just refuse. And if it ends up just being me and only me, and I'm just there to relay, hey, I couldn't get a single other witness to come because they're all refusing to participate here. As long as those sock puppets are there, I think that's a really powerful message. And I think if 15 people, 5 people, 10, and we just all share the same thing of, hey, look, it's really hard for us to move forward if you have witnesses here. Like, we'd love to talk and we'd love to try to figure out how we de-escalate and move, but the most recent escalation isn't us. You're holding our chain hostage, or you're holding our governance hostage. That and I there are some very strong opinions that I've been receiving from witnesses about this, and I so respect them. To me, communication is the most important, and having an open line of communication is the most important. And even if that communication line is ugly and disorganized and imperfect, warts and all, I will take that over silence any day. So I'll go, even if I get shit on, even if I get taken out of the top 20, or I guess I'm not even in the top 20. I just think it's critical that we maintain some kind of dialogue, and other witnesses don't. And I so respect that. This is why everybody is so different in their approach, and they see this different ways. And I respect my witnesses, the co-witnesses, to go make the decisions that they think are best for this chain. And hopefully they'll respect that I'm going to do whatever I can that I think is what is in the best interest of this chain. And hopefully all these people doing what they think is in the best interest of the chain, we can collectively actually move the dial. And I know it would be nice if we could just point to one person and be like, all right, you're king and you make all the decisions. That would make it really convenient to negotiate or figure out steps. But there's not a single freaking person that wants that. Like, we can't represent anybody but ourselves. So it's going to be a funky time. In the meantime, Dan just put out his tweet of, I do think there's a non-zero chance that this thing escalates further. And if it escalates further, the thing I envision, Binance and Huobi have not powered down. And collectively, that's 78 PV worth of voting, which, if they do it, would kick out every single witness out of the top 20. And that is still very much a risk. I don't want to sugarcoat that in the slightest. The exchanges are still powered up, and they could just undo this. I have not seen the code, but allegedly a hard fork has already been written. And they could take control of the blockchain, hard fork it, and that would certainly be an unprecedented action. So I think Dan has a smart play of get in front of that and say, he's got a tweet out, go look for Dehence's tweet and go be proactive in telling them, like, basically, two wrongs don't make a right. And in fact, like, escalating to that extreme is terrible.
So I actually think that this might be a blessing in disguise, Ag, and I don't know if anybody would agree with me, but allowing only just if one person showed up to that meeting, that would be great. Having a single unified voice speaking on behalf of Steem is going to be way stronger than 10 or 15 witnesses arguing with each other and try to yell at each other to get a point across. Like, having one unified voice, even if it might not represent 100% of everybody at all times, which it never will, is going to be way stronger than a bunch of people like that don't. It's kind of how, like, it's what Tron right now, they're kind of using that. They have a single unified voice, and then we got the witnesses that are kind of a little bit chaotic. Everybody's wanting the governance back, but how to get there is kind of chaotic. So if everybody boycotts it and you're the lone one there, Ag, I think that would actually be a positive. And maybe not even just you, like maybe the only person there is anybody, right? It doesn't have to be you, but I'm just saying, like, if you're the only one that's agreeing to this, I think even if you guys do decide to all show up, having one person as the speaker would be the best. I don't know who you can get to agree on that, but I think that, yeah, too many cooks spoils the broth. That's exactly what it is.
Can I jump in here? I'd like to jump in here because you're making some of the points that I was going to make.
Could you?
I agree.
This is the Hive. Hive, could you speak up a little bit? You're very quiet, and I've got you cranked to 200%.
Is that any better?
That's better. Go ahead.
Yeah, I agree with most of what Ron's done said there, and pretty much the same as what Agrod said. And I do agree, if Agrod was the only one that turned up there, we might have a better discussion than the previous one. There is some things that the witnesses are looking for that I think is just nitpicking, and basically one of those is take back that hackers comment, being more negative comments made towards Justin Sun, name calling and whatever. And unless we're going to redact all of them, we can't be asking that of him. But I do think over the last few days we have had great opportunity to discuss a way forward on what we can offer Justin Sun. We know he's all about the money. If we can show him a way that he can profit from being here on Steam without doing anything, he doesn't have to have any involvement. But we as a community will put efforts into him gaining back his investment and a profit afterwards. That's what we should be looking to get him to come on board with us and help us get on other exchanges then, because that just then amplifies the profit he can make. If we're not going forward, if we're not going forward with something that say, hey, we can make you money, we're just all about ourselves, and that's not a thing that benefits both sides of the fence, so to speak.
He's been fantastic to help us get exchange listings. At least 2 have listed Steem just in the past couple days, proving points of, look at how badly they've treated Steem. We promised to never do that to you, as a brilliant plan. So he's been very effective in that's the joke.
But yeah, there is a lot of common ground that could be found, and I think starting off with the common ground is really where this all begins. It's where any negotiation begins. So, Hive, you got a good point there. Where everybody's a stakeholder in Steem. Everybody has some Steem to win or lose, and if this situation can make all stakeholders richer, then that would be great for everybody.
And that's where I think the witness side is losing out. We're not doing that. On the witness side, I see a lot of variation, and it's not variation in a constructive manner. It's in a, I think he should do this and I think he should do that. But it's not looking with a forward thing. It's all of immediate right now, and there's no thought within that for 6 months down the road.
Could you say that last sentence again?
In discussions of what we want immediately, like you take them sock puppet witness away, or there is no negotiation. That stops all thought from forming opinions of what can 6 months down the road, a year down the road, or 6 years down the road where we could be.
Correct. Yeah, you don't start a negotiation with demands. That's kind of standard practice.
Yeah, right now we're on an even playing field of negotiations where it's almost 50-50. It's at 9-11 right now, I think. But we are on an even playing field to begin negotiations where both parties can benefit. If we're concentrating on who the witnesses are in power right now, I think that's the wrong focus to be opening the negotiation with. And we should be coming up as a community with, if we done X, X, and Y, Z, we can end up giving you a return on your investment, Justin. And that's what we should be looking at to keep that finance with us.
I think this is Richard here. I think if we get to a point where one side actually gains enough control, the negotiations they won't be happening anymore. The people in control will do what they want to do. Hopefully that's us. And just one more time to try to get anybody to poke holes in this for me. Clearly, in my mind, we should do 10 max witness votes.
Yeah, that's something we were discussing earlier on there. The number, like I agree. I don't know if I can't speak for everyone, but I agree. I think that's a hole in a DPoS. Decentralizing it would mean having less control for one person over the top 20. I still think stake should rule. I just don't think that being like having so much stake you can put in your own hard forks is a good idea for DPoS.
Right. You replied to me earlier, Rondon. You said there was somebody else suggesting possibly more consensus witnesses, which that's fairly interesting, but it's more complicated. To me, the simple solution for more decentralization and not having any one side be able to take over, I think, in my opinion, if we get control, that's a clear fork that I would vote for. No doubt about it. At this point, unless somebody can tell me why that's not a solution as far as it being more decentralized, because it's harder to take control. It would effectively take double the amount of stakes. Sure, you could split it up, but then it's that doesn't really do you any good. You'd have to have double the amount to vote for 20 witnesses. It's to me it seems like a very effective tool and something that we should enact if we get the chance.
I think so. I think that's one of a possible solution that we really need to consider. Decentralization is the goal, and if decentralization is truly the goal, then we need to figure out how to make that happen, and that's one possible solution. It's something that needs to be discussed for sure. Thanks, Richard.
Thank you.
Marco put something in chat here. Hive, I'm going to go ahead and move you back into the audience too. I appreciate you coming on and sharing your thoughts. Marco put something in here. He said he doesn't want to speak live, but he just wants me to read this. There's an option of the sister chain and the hassle of the exchanges and all that things. Option where Justin agrees to not use the stake for voting, and Justin does agree to vote and dumps it to the market. We get decentralization, price will go down more than if we sister chain. ? And yes, exchanges fucked up, but we can have a great press in saying exchanges fuck people. We as a community respect people and we want to give them their coin back. Also, only thing online people have against Steem is locking his stake. We can argue the use of it. So if we take that back from their argument, there is nothing against us. And yes, we are pissed off, but look from his perspective, thousands of people were calling him a lot of things. Most are deserved publicly on all networks. Okay, there's a lot to unpack there. And I lost it. Oh, there it is. Yeah, but I mean, there's a few different options here. Sister chain, or we can make an agreement with Justin, and he can dump it to the market. We get decentralization, but the price goes down. Does it go down as much as sister chain? Nobody knows. Sister chain would. It seems like a community would really be in favor of one if it comes to that. I hope it doesn't come to that. We want to stay here. We've been building this community here. We don't want to pack up and move. I mean, that's something that we've kind of said ad nauseum the past few days. Yeah, I see like the exchanges. If we allow them this one mistake, it could be touted as a win that Steem community decided to help the little man get their money out of the exchanges. There's a lot of different angles on this. I think they all need to be considered. Ag, sounds like you're busy in the background. If anybody wants to come on air, if you have the power to just move yourself on air, bring yourself. If you don't, oh look, Earthquakes. After Swoop's getting banned places, Earthquake shows up. That's convenient. If you guys want to talk on air, just let me know in chat, and I will bring you live on air. I think we're going to do this for another 20 minutes, and then we're going to call this a day. I think that we've discussed a lot of great solutions here. I will be releasing this recording later on today, just to let you guys know, and then I'm going to be releasing the previous recordings. I've got to do some editing to them, so it's going to take a little bit longer to release those. But the ones like yesterday with Anjarchy and the one day before that with everybody fired up and going crazy, we'll be having those out. So Raycoms wants to talk. I will bring you live on air, Raycoms. And if you want to talk, just let me know in the MSP Waves audience chat. Do not DM me, please. I'm not going to read those. Raycoms, welcome. You're live on air. Did you have something to say?
Hi, can you hear me?
I can hear you. Go right ahead.
Okay, hi, Raycoms here. So I also listened to the last attempt of conversation. I think the main thing that went wrong in the tag, and it kind of bothered me as well when I was listening to it, that there was like no real conversation going on. I think it was kind of like what we have right now, like a stalemate between the two parties. And since we already kind of noticed that Justin Sun doesn't really have a general idea about how decentralized governance works in general, I think probably a good approach would be to like start the next talk with like a general on how Steem governance is working, how the witnesses are, how the community is imagining the Steem governance to work in the future, what kind of things probably went wrong in the past, what kind of things can be avoided, and probably what kind of steps can be taken to achieve the type of governance we could imagine, and how we can achieve a win-win. If it is him to decline his voting rights and maybe lock up a certain amount of stake somewhere so that it is guaranteed to be non-voting for some time or something like that, but to be something more constructive.
I'm thinking that we need to assume that somebody can just buy the amount of stake that he has, and do we want that amount of stake to have as much power as it has right now? So, we need to stop treating this as a ninja mine. We need to just start that is a factor of this, and we can keep that in our minds. But we need to just understand that this is something that can happen with anybody legitimately purchased. And do we fork them out because they completely change our entire governance? I think we need to solve this problem now, which I think the voting, voting less witnesses could help. I don't know if that's the silver bullet, but anyway, we've got Rainbow. Yeah, Rainbow Jaw here joining us. Did you want to add something to the conversation, Rainbow?
Hey, Rondon. Hey, everybody. Can you hear me all right?
I hear you great. Go right ahead.
All right. Yeah, I just feel like I've been listening in for the last few days and been on Steem for a while. And I don't know. I guess I feel like we should. Everybody's kind of said everything already, but I just want to echo this idea that we should assume the worst and hope for the best. I think this idea that Justin Sun doesn't know what a blockchain is or how it works is just, I think that's ludicrous. I mean, he started Tron and he already kicked out the equivalent of witnesses on his blockchain recently and did a takeover on that. Like, he knows what it is and he knows what he's doing. I don't think he was expecting as much pushback as Steem has given, but this idea that he's just like, I don't know. I mean, he is obviously just kind of a dumb marketer dude or a very smart marketing dude, but I think he knew what he was doing when he got here and just underestimated Steem a bit. But in that sense, like I don't think that it makes sense to wait for and see what happens with the sister chain. And I know that it's not. Like, I think that people already said that they are working on a fork to create a sister chain, and part of that this discussion is figuring out whether it's on this main chain or on the sister chain. Yeah, how to create a more robust delegated proof of stake system. So I think that's really the most interesting discussion here is like how we can make Steem better. I mean, I heard someone put forward the idea of putting like a delay on a power up as far as voting, and I think that is a powerful idea that I haven't heard really today. People have been talking more about reducing the number of votes. To me, I don't really get that. I mean, it makes sense to a degree because people don't want to build a bunch of accounts, or having a bunch of accounts to do multiple votes it is annoying, but like you can still do that. Like, it doesn't really stop an attack like this to reduce the number of votes. But I do think that
if you
am I
move
wrong?
it into two different accounts, you only get half as much voting for two different for twice as much. So it does
That
it's
wouldn't
still
really help you.
it's
Yeah, it
still
wouldn't really help you to split it up like that. You could do twice as many votes, but they would each be half as powerful. That's what I was trying to make it clear earlier. It would effectively take you double the amount of stake to have that much control. It does effectively help to decentralize it.
But right now, hold on a second. I wasn't done. I mean, I think that you have right now you vote on 30, so your stake is basically split into 30 votes, and
No.
so
Oh well, yeah, but it doesn't 30 or
No, it's
20 or
not
10.
split. Your full
They're all the
stake
same.
goes
They're
to
all the
30
same
votes.
weight. Like, you don't understand.
yeah, but someone made the point. Someone made the point earlier that then everybody is voting less. So like ultimately, there's the same amount of voting stake that's happening on the chain, and you still have the same ratio with that stake, no matter how many votes there are. But
No, you each vote. Just consider it like this: if you're a powerful player, like the Steam stake or a huge whale or something, you only have 10 votes. If you split that up into two different accounts, you lose half the power. So you might not have enough to even make it into a top 20 witness. Of course, you have to be pretty huge to do that anyway. So I mean, just thinking of it from the perspective of the huge accounts, like this, let's just say the stake we're worried about right now, the Steam stake that Sun controls now. So that would effectively make it where he could only get 10 puppets in right now. So it would, and maybe you could even do a lower amount of that, but it would be a step in the right direction. I think another thing though that I wanted to mention real quick, just very briefly, I think a focus right now should be to gain control. Let's continue telling everybody to get the vote out. We can see we've got the top spots, so we've got enough stake, to vote people in. We have the ability to take consensus right now, to take the majority of the positions. So let's keep hammering on that. Some guy 123 has a proxy. Steem Leo does. You can proxy to Richard Krill if you want. If you don't understand how to go and do that yourself, but let's get the vote out. Let's continue to work on that because that's one of our main priorities right now. I think that's all I had.
okay, I was still wanted to finish saying something, which was basically I think that is the priority to get our witnesses in there to vote properly and get all the witnesses back. But as others have said, there's the exchanges are still powered up. They're ready to vote at any time. They haven't started powering down at all. Even if they did start powering down, it takes 13 weeks. So they could just stop their power down at any point and vote. And I think it's important to have a sister chain ready to go, and for people to already like start experimenting with it and start using it, because if it's there and Justin Sun continues to fuck with us, then just move over, and then like whatever he does to dump all those tokens like becomes worth less and less. Like if people just like say, okay, well here, have your worthless Steem token. I don't know. That's how I feel about it.
To me, that's one of the worst outcomes that could happen. I mean, I understand the potentiality, and I agree that we should be looking at, you know, the possibility there and how to do it. But my hopes are that it doesn't come to that. I want, like Agro just said, Steem is our home. We've built here. This is our chain. Let's take control, and if they want to fork off, they can do that.
For sure, but it's a leveraging tool, and it's more, the sooner we do it, the more leverage we have with that. Like the sooner that's ready and that's there and that's like a real threat to them, then yeah, it's kind of like the idea of getting a lawsuit going. Yeah, you don't have to like take it to that point, but just the fact that it's like ready, the fact that it's there, like, look, you fucked up, like this isn't going to work for you, like you back down, we have these demands, like we'll work with you, but if you don't, then we're just going to fuck you.
Yeah, I get that to a certain degree. I think the more powerful move there is, obviously, I'm sure you agree with this, I mean, it's to take control, get consensus, and us be the chain. But yeah, I mean, we've got to, be ready to do any number of things. So it's definitely worthwhile to say that. But in my thoughts, I really hope it doesn't come to that.
Right, yeah, me too. All right, thanks, guys.
Thanks for coming on, Rainbow. We've got Raj. Raj808 wants to say something. He's joined us live on air. Go ahead, Raj.
Hi, can you hear me?
I can hear you just fine. Go ahead.
Okay, great. I've been listening for the past 3 days, as Rainbow was saying, just listening carefully and lurking. And the one thing that's the one thing that I've realised listening in today, and it just occurred to me in my mind, that it seems that the witnesses are all quite split. Okay, so I heard the Marky Mark, right, when the guy from Tron came on, his voice, he sounded like he wanted to punch him, whereas Agrode is kind of sounding like he's conciliatory. He wants to have a debate, he wants to hear all sides, all of these kind of things. And what came to mind, or what I suddenly thought, I can imagine Justin Sun isn't stupid. He isn't unaware of Steem blockchain. He isn't unaware of what the community is. He's probably figured it out just over the past 4 or 5 days what's going on. He's a canny guy. He's going to be extremely mindful of the division amongst the witnesses and kind of how they want to deal with everything. And it occurred to me that I don't know how it works with you guys, but if there's, say, 20 of the previous consensus witnesses in a Discord room, and everyone's got different levels of sort of anger, or maybe they're not angry, but they want to find compromise, or maybe there's even some who are just like, no, we need to work with him. He's got all of this marketing power and all of this money behind him. Do you guys kind of just get everybody's opinion down in a list in writing? Like, I was thinking, if you just literally had what do I write? So one witness, what is the least I would accept in some kind of deal, and then what is the thing that I really want, the thing that I'm going for and I really want, and everybody does that, and then somehow you look at that and you try and find a compromise, a middle ground, at a point whereby you've got a sort of consensus idea of the least deal you would take and the best deal you would take. And then when the Tron people are in there, you literally have kind of a strategy going in. It's not kind of like they're looking, thinking, okay, this one person's been on Twitter saying "fuck Justin Sun," you're all criminals, and this other person obviously is gonna talk to us and negotiate. Can we play these people, play them off and all that. I was just wondering about, you guys might have already done this, but that was just my thoughts listening in especially over the last sort of 2 or 3 hours.
I would say that going into a negotiation with all your cards on the table is not a very smart way of negotiating.
But you don't have them all on the table. You all know yourselves, having had a previous meeting, that what the most you would, the best deal you think you can get and the least you would accept. Try to come to a consensus, but you don't tell them. You don't say anything. You just all know it in your head, rather than going in with differing levels of anger and outrage, which are completely justified. By the way, I'm not saying they're not. It's just him and his marketing guys and everyone there must be looking at the situation thinking, this is perfect for us.
I gotta hop off the call. Maybe I'll be back in a bit. Thank you guys for being here.
I plan on. Okay, go ahead, Ag. I plan on ending this in 5 minutes anyway.
Okay.
I don't know. We don't need to do this for this many hours, like every day. It just, I think today we've reached a really good point. I've got some video to edit and got a lot of stuff to work on that I can't do while OBS is running. And yeah, like we can plan on doing this again. I guess
I'll be here tomorrow at noon.
Tomorrow we got a show tomorrow.
Oh, what time?
I can't open a browser to tell you. Look at mspwaves.com. We've got a giant gap between the first show and the last show, though, so I think we should aim for that after Spotlight on the Artist. I don't want to just tell him, hey, you can't do your show tomorrow.
What day is tomorrow? Tomorrow's Friday?
Tomorrow is Friday.
6? Yeah. 1 to 5. Yeah, there's a whole show. I guess we could do noon to 1 and just have a 1-hour meeting.
That would work.
Let's do that.
Kind of a recap, just probably not a town hall, more of a recap. Let some witnesses talk about what happened at the meeting, what the plan of action is, let the community know kind of what to expect and where to go from there. I think that'll work. All right, Ag, it was great having you on. Yep. Thanks for joining me today.
Yep, happy to be here. Thanks, guys. Thanks, community. Chin up. We'll figure something out. A lot of voices have to come together to go make a chorus, but we can do it. Thank you.
Represent us well, Ag. You're all right. So I think we're gonna finish this off with Boris. Boris, can you speak for us? Make sure your mic is working. Boris, you're live on air. Would you like to talk? You are unmuted. You should be able to speak. Hopefully we get these problems worked out in the next couple of minutes because we are going to be calling this a show. Okay, now your mic is muted. Now it's unmuted. There's no sound coming out. You're not lighting up, so that means Discord is not detecting your mic at all. I don't know. You might need to go to your Discord voice and video settings to fix that, and hopefully you can do that really quickly here. If not, just write what you need to write out in chat. People are watching the chat. A lot of people here focused. So, oh crap! And then I just lost Discord. Let me open that back up. Wow, Discord is not happy with me today. I can tell you that it's booted me twice. Sorry about that. I just lost Discord for those in the live on air. Okay, use the SPS to buy Steem and Ink stake. That's an idea. I mean, I don't know. Like, let's see. I mean, we could do some quick math here. Wolfman Alpha. So 74 million divided by, divided by what is the current market rate right now? If we can just assume 19 cents. Wait. No, that's not right. I don't know. I'd have to do some math, but that much SBD on the market's going to dump the price of SBD, and I don't even think there's that much SBD out there. I don't know. People smarter than me with math can figure that out, but that is an option. That's a, that's something to consider. Yeah, maybe, Boris. I'm not quite sure, but definitely somebody should crunch the numbers, do the math, try to figure out what kind of time scale, what kind of price, how much that's going to mean. Yeah, times 0.19. There you go. That is a lot of SBD. 14 million SBD. Is there even that many? We can just check the supply. There's not even that much SBD in supply. We don't even have that much, and we're already in the that would be twice as much as what exists. So yeah, I don't know if that's even tenable, but it's an option to pursue. Anyway, thank you guys so much for bringing your thank you so much for taking the time to come out to these. Your community support is what's making this happen. I want to thank everybody who has come on here and given us solutions today. Today has been very hyper-focused on solutions. I cannot believe how well we've been able to keep that focus. It's lots of different ideas out there, lots of different perspectives to consider. I got to say, I am overwhelmed by it. I've been taking some notes. I think that hopefully I can get a post out tonight. Hopefully I can get these recordings out. Keep an eye on my blog. I will be trying to release these recordings. I want to thank you guys so much for being here. Thanks for taking the time to do this. It means a lot to me. We're going to move to SteamX. I want you guys to return if you want to have some non-Steam discussion here in about 2 hours with Orlev. He talks about sustainability and building communities, but kind of a different approach. Not going to be talking about Steam so much as he's going to be talking about the meat world. I appreciate you guys for being here. We'll see you next time. Tomorrow at noon Eastern, we'll be having another town hall meeting for an hour for recapping the meeting that they have tonight. So just to let you guys know, noon Eastern, 5 p.m. UTC. Be here if you want to keep on with the town hall meetings. If not, Orlev is next in 2 hours. Then after 2 hours after that, will be Crimson Clad with Full Force Thursday, where she will not be talking about Steam, but she will be playing a lot of metal. So if you got some anger to get out, that would be a good time. See you guys.
Imagine a trading card game whose cards can be bought or sold instantly with a click or a tap. Imagine a digital universe of monsters and summoners, a world of endless battle combinations, daily